We just don't know what this episode's going to be about yet. You're listening to Brothers of the Serpent podcast.
Snake Bros!
Are we going?
Yeah.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen,
Go.
boys and girls, angels and demons, monsters and serpents. I wasn't ready.
Neither.
This is Brothers of the Serpent podcast, coming to you not live from the 10 by 10 by 10 Tangent Cube of Science. We have Laura in here joining us for the first part of this segment.
Hey.
And we are, as you know, nestled amongst the dusty bones of an ancient seabed high atop the Edwards Plateau. So we have Laura in here and the Watcher not here yet. Hopefully he will show up at some point. Got a lot of stuff to discuss on this episode. But first, we're going to do... why am I facing the wrong way here? I can't even look at Laura.
Because you weren't ready.
She's like totally in the on the
and I'm
opposite side of the
thrown
room.
in this other corner on a stool. I mean, everything's all haywire in here right now.
So we have this special edition of hat boxes, right? So we're calling them hat boxes, but they're Brothers of the Serpent hats that Laura ordered, embroidered hats. Some of you, probably most of you, have heard us talking about this. So today is the day for the drawing.
Woo.
So what we got? Drum roll or something around?
Can you hear the names?
No, I don't have the...
All right, so Laura's got the hat that is the gift hat, and it's full of names. She's shaking. There. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, I'm
Kyle's
shaking.
Gonna,
I'm hoping you can
Kyle,
hear.
we're gonna get the drum roll going here.
Oh, sorry. Got it. Sorry, I kind of picked up two and then I had to redo. Matthew Arnott? Is that how you would say that? Is that how you say that last name?
Matthew,
You are a new owner of a very special Brothers of the Serpent hat and other good stuff.
It's your last name is A-R-N-O-T.
Doxed. Totally doxed, bro.
Well,
What's his address and phone number?
We don't know that yet. He's gonna have to give it to me before he gets his box.
Yeah,
Call Matt at 222-2222.
You're the winner. Oh, and he was number 38. He was the last name to go in. Wow.
Wow. That seems suspicious. Sounds like his name was on the top.
No, I shook and shook and shook and shook.
Did you stir them with your hand?
I shook and stirred and shook and stirred.
All right. I don't know, man.
Shaken and stirred.
I numbered him because I was actually curious. I wanted to know when the name came out. I kind of wanted to know what number.
All right, well, congratulations,
Congratulations,
buddy.
yeah.
Woo!
So when are you shipping these boxes out?
So I will be shipping them out, I guess. Well, today's Wednesday. Probably next week. Probably next week because I still have to finish packing them up.
She just got the actual boxes in the mail.
Oh, okay,
So
yeah.
Yeah, I
the
nerded
boxes
out
and the
on
packaging
YouTube.
stuff just came in.
I nerded out on YouTube to make sure that I was getting the correct size box, so this could be profesh. So anyway, yeah, I think next week they'll probably get to actually go out because I have to still finish packing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So sorry to the 37 other people that were in the contest, but you failed.
You lose. But yeah, thanks so much to everybody who did buy a box and to Kevin who bought two of them.
Yeah,
And
Matthew.
donated the second one. Is it what?
Yeah, Matthew, you're getting your stuff because Kevin.
Yeah. Who is Butt Flapperton in the Discord chat. So give him a
So jealous of that
give him
name.
a big thanks.
It's like Christmas in the back room right now. It's really awesome.
And speaking of Christmas, we have a lot of one-up boxes of our own here from
Yeah.
you fine people.
That's right. So let's explain. Last time we opened one-up boxes on the show, there were 3 and they had lots of stuff in them and it took us a long time. We love the boxes and we love opening them and I like to open them on the show. I feel like that's what we should do. But it does take a long time when there's all the packaging and all the stuff.
Yeah.
So we decided to set up we're trying a new system here, which is that we now have a box opener.
A box screener.
Me.
So the idea is that Laura will prep the boxes so that Kyle and I can then open them on the show and everything that's in there will kind of just be in there without us having to unwrap for bubble wrap and get rid of paper and all this kind of stuff. So
Which makes sense anyway because I'm the one that picks them up and brings them in.
And also, there's just like too many to do on one show.
Which
so
no one is complaining about, and that is
No,
not
no,
a
no,
bad thing.
too many boxes.
Yeah.
And
It's so
zero
wonderful.
complaints.
Keep them coming. Just like emails. Keep them coming.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, Laura is now also in charge of the ones where we are going to actually unbox them on the show versus the ones where we just basically have the item that was sent.
That's right. Yeah. So anybody who sends one, you will still say thank you. We'll mention whatever was in there, but we won't be like doing unboxing of 6 boxes on the show. That's just too much.
So Russ is the email screener. I'm the gift screener, and Kyle's the audio screener.
Right. And so we set up this plan and we thought, this is genius. And then we realized that
First one up box.
all right.
And then the first one I go to prep, boom. You guys want to tell him? You want me to tell?
Yeah, the first box basically exploded.
In my room, confetti went everywhere. Snakes went everywhere.
Where's the note?
It's right
here. Dear Snakes, so I had this cool idea to model what 30% brain expansion feels like. Took some trial and error, but I was eventually able to rig up a prototype. Let me know what y'all think. Snakes! Brenner.
Of course.
So Laura opens this thing.
Clearly, Brenner was hoping for us to open it on the show and have it explode in our faces.
I just have to say, epic fail, bro.
Yeah.
Honestly, Brenner, after I saw it, I thought there's no way this would have been a good idea to explode in the studio because the confetti is still sticking to my feet when I walk through my bedroom. The
opened it on the
vacuum
bed.
did not get it all up. Soul was excited. He was like, woo, party! And I'm like, oh no.
Yes. So there's a long history of our friends pranking us. And Laura getting the brunt of the
True,
prank when they were
so
actually
true.
trying to get me because I'm a prankster.
Kyle pranks them, and then they're like, God dang it! And then they come over here to try to prank Kyle, and then Laura is the one that gets the prank.
Me and Ty one night switched. We went through all the spices and stuff, and we switched all the spices into the different spice bottles and. Over at
Brenner and Connor.
Yeah, Brenner and Connor and Archer's house. And then I grabbed the salt and the sugar out of the pantry and we switched those.
And then Connor went
And
to
then
bake
Connor baked a pie or something for
his dad.
With salt. So then he was really mad.
Horrible situation. Then he comes over to our house, swaps
Yeah.
our salt and sugar.
Yep.
I get up in the morning, making my coffee, put the sugar in it, take a big gulp, and I'm like, oh my God, what? I call Kyle. I'm upset.
Yeah.
He starts laughing.
Yeah. So basically, Laura is the screener of all pranks.
That's
so
right.
just know from now on, when you send a one-up box, it has to get past Laura. So if
To be unboxed on the show.
Yeah, if there's a prank in there, there better be a note on top that says, Laura, this is a prank.
Do not open.
It will explode, so don't open it.
And don't tell them that it will explode or something. And she'll probably tell us anyway. I don't know.
Brenner,
Yeah.
you failed.
You failed. Good try, bro.
Good try.
At first, Brenner, I was like, oh,
There were
it
like-
didn't work out for him. This is going to be sad. But then
There
Kyle
are these
and Russ were
huge spring-loaded snakes in the freaking box, packed with confetti that just blew out of there. And, oh, man, I would have loved to have seen it.
Yeah.
I took a video right after and I sent it to the guys and I was like, okay, we didn't think this prepping the box thing all the way through.
So first thing I want to say from Anne, we got a couple of books. One is called The Irish Book of Death and Flying Ships from the Chronicles of Ancient Ireland. This looks really cool. She says some of this stuff we've seen in Charles Fort and Ivan T. Sanderson and other places, but this is like a concentration of these types of reports. I can't wait to look through that. The other one she sent in here is called The Farm Tractor. It's like it's art of big machines. And that one is actually for Soul, right? I think this one's for the little snake, the snakelet.
Awesome tractor
Thank you,
book.
Ann.
Yeah, thank you very much.
He's going to love looking at those tractors.
And Elder sent us. I'm not sure what these are. I think he told me what
Coprolites?
they look like. Coprolites or desert roses.
They kind
or-
of look like desert
They're
roses. yeah.
stones. They're in a bag, and I know he told me what
Really
they
cool
were,
looking.
and I completely forgot. But
They also look like peach pits.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Oh, some kind of fossil. Really cool stuff. And the envelope is awesome, dude. I love the alien thing. Dang it, Johnson.
I wonder what the on some of these boxes, like Brenner's box had the big Mario 1-up mushroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do they think of these things?
That's great.
We love it. We totally love it.
Okay, what else we got?
Okay, so
Okay.
And go ahead and give me that one. Yeah.
the one Kyle's
Read
opening.
first.
Okay.
Hey, Snake Bros. Enclosed in this box is your non-surprise surprise. Sometime last year, I ran this idea by Uncle T Meg. But somewhere along the line, I screwed up and didn't make clear that I wanted to have these made and shipped without you knowing about it. Anyway, after months of finding and getting all of the various people to add their talents, Meg was able to do a final assembly last week, so here you go. For the enjoyment of your followers, it may be cool, no pun intended, to have some pics taken of you two on the property stacking some large rocks or making stone tools while wearing these much anticipated original coveralls. I hope these meet your expectations. Snake Uncle. That's obviously Uncle John.
That's Uncle
Thank you.
John.
These are butt flaps.
Butt flaps.
Snake Bros butt flaps.
Oh my gosh. Whoa.
Wow, that is cool.
See, I didn't totally prep this one. I didn't actually see him yet. Oh my gosh.
Oh wow, it's got the embroidered snake on it.
It has a beautiful embroidered
Wow, it's like
snake
a-
on it. That's the circle, the logo. Oh my gosh.
And they straight up Flintstone cut the bottom.
Meg,
They're all ragged on the bottom, dude.
Dude, these are
Aunt
beautiful.
Meg, you have pulled through.
Wow.
All right, we will
awesome.
take pictures of these.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Meg.
How much are you guys Uncle T Meg, which is what Soul calls her? How much are you charging for these? Because I mean,
People
these
are gonna want some.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, this was a surprise, even though it wasn't a surprise.
Laura,
They're
you
awesome.
were supposed to have this handled. Why am I having
Oh,
this?
sorry, because I picked it up today. This was the last
I
night.
has blade.
Sorry about that.
It's like a wire or something.
Sorry.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, go ahead. Try it.
Yeah, I just sliced that puppy up. There you go. Okay.
Okay, this says right? Is this a
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
Yeah.
I found this old piece, and although he's probably a bit, yeah, I can't read it.
Not sure.
Over something for your taste, I thought you guys should have it. From Becca. Oliver wanted me to tell you that he likes to think
He is not.
he's not scary with his fangs out, but that he looks like he has two big buck teeth.
Is there something on the back of one of those notes?
No, they're just.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Try
this is
to
from-
decipher that word. Over something.
This is from our dear friend Becca,
Overdressed.
who is a listener, longtime friend.
Wow.
And I'm so excited about it. She
Oh, that's
does
cool.
the most beautiful, amazing glitter artwork. She pays such close attention to detail. She does glue, then glitter, glue. I've watched her do it. I've seen a lot of her artwork.
So it's an old piece of wood,
Yeah.
and she's kind of she's painted it dark green, and then on top of it there is this beautiful sparkly serpent.
We'll take a picture of it to show
It is
you.
amazing.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We should hang it in here.
Yeah, it can be hung in here.
Oh, I love it.
One more.
So this is part of that big box, yeah.
History shit.
This is part of the ultimate one-up, is what History Shift says. So this is challenge accepted, guys.
It's written
he
hugely on the
says
box.
ultimate one-up. See if you can top it.
It's heavy. Okay, here's a note. Here. A note taped to something heavy.
I got a carton cutter.
Box cutter.
Yeah, a box cutter. Okay.
Too bad.
Oh,
Laura's
good.
screening the boxes.
He typed it out and printed it so I can read it easy. Snakes! I put a safety knife on top so Kyle does not cut himself. See, they think it's you. Hello, Snake family. I know it's been a while, but I have been collecting items for one-up boxes and decided just to do one big ultimate one-up box. I just want to say how important the work you are doing has meant to me and so many others. Keep leading us down those rabbit holes. I wanted to show my appreciation for all you have done for me and History Shift. I look forward to keeping our friendship growing as you grow this fantastic community of amazing snakes. So, everyone in the snake family has a one-up box inside. Russ, Kyle, Laura, and Soul. Also included are 2 books that might help shed some light on the structures you found on your family's property back east.
This is awesome. Mysterious stone sites in the Hudson Valley of New York and northern New Jersey.
Wow.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Please read the Mysterious Stone Sites. Fantastic book. Easy read, maybe 2 days tops. Also, in the white folder, I included a transparency for finding solstice and equinox alignments. This is extremely helpful. You can just lay it on a computer screen and Google Earth and find alignments. I hope you like it. There's also a book there for Brett. First page talks about Saint Germain under Abbey. Time to slither myself back under a dolmen. Thanks for all you guys do. You have helped me through some tough times, and I am proud to call myself a snake. Your brother in Montana, Brandon Ricks, History Shift. P.S. Yes, there are a lot of exclamation marks. You know I love my exclamation marks, LOL. Yeah. I don't think he used a period in this entire note.
Hey, I love exclamation marks too, dude. I use a lot of them all the time.
Also included are 2 of the cactowls we had made. Cactowls.
Oh, cactus.
Yeah. So make sure to bring them because those are the ones we're supposed to have.
Oh, I'm opening
T-shirt.
up mine.
So our boxes have T-shirts in them.
Are they History Shift t-shirts?
Snakes!
Oh my gosh.
Why did it have to be
I
snakes?
love this. It
Why did it have to be
says,
snakes?
oh my gosh, you guys, look at this. Just a girl who loves snakes. And it's pink and white, and the snake has flowers on it. Oh my gosh, I love this. Just a girl who loves snakes.
I'm glad you're in here, babe.
Yeah.
Oh man.
They're way more entertaining than we are.
I've always thought, since I've been listening to y'all's podcast, that when it comes to you guys opening up presents, I'm always like, oh God, they didn't give that enough service. Like, I'm just like, if I was in there, I would really make sure that everybody knew that shit was awesome.
History Shift. This is a really nice box, buddy. And yeah, we'll give.
Sift happened.
That's good.
Oh man, this shirt is gonna get
What's
dirty
yours
fast.
say, Kyle? Oh my gosh, that's awesome. It's got a sifter.
Yeah, sift happens.
What's your
So I can wear it when I'm sifting for arrowheads.
Snakes.
No,
Why
babe,
did it
there's
have to-
way
Why did it
more
have to be
words on that.
snakes?
It says,
Oh.
why is it?
Why did it have to be snakes?
Yeah, it's an Indiana Jones joke.
Oh. Okay, I don't get it, but that's cool.
What?
What do you mean?
Get out of here.
Get out of
I
here.
don't know about that. Oh, maybe I do.
Soul got one.
Okay, I'll open up Souls.
And then the other book was Spirits in Stone. Secrets of the Megalithic.
Secrets of the Megalithic America. Decoding the ancient
Oh
cultural.
my God. This is the cutest dang snake I've ever seen in my entire life. It's a little red shirt with a cute little snake with his tongue out and big beady eyes. Oh my God.
Here's your History Shift sticker. This is I love this logo, bro. It's a great logo.
It is good.
I'm gonna stick it on my
Thank
one of my
you
guitar
so
cases.
much.
And last thing in the giant ultimate box
And
is
this it says just a little gift from my.
oh, this is the transparency. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
cool. All right, buddy. Thank you so much. Really,
Just a
really
little
awesome.
gift from my visit to the Anzac collection. Enjoy. So he went to see the Anzac collection in
Oh,
Montana.
cool.
And you gotta.
Oh, do I need it?
Yeah.
Well, I handed you my knife, didn't I?
No.
Oh no. What did I do with it?
He sent a knife to us.
Yeah. This was my first stack of prepping, so maybe I should have prepped this one a little bit more in.
Yeah, they just need to all just the whole.
Everything needs to
just
be open and yeah.
Okay, I'll
it'll
do
work.
better next
It'll
Hey,
time.
be
look,
better.
you
Oh.
you handled the bomb. That's
Yes.
That's the biggest part. So
Yeah, so all of you potential bombers out there need to realize that you'll be bombing Laura.
Yes.
well, that's why they have to put a note in the box to tell Laura it's a bomb. Wow.
Whoa, that's cool.
Really cool.
Is that a poster of a mammoth skull?
Yeah. It could be a mastodon.
Oh, okay.
Oh, look at that arrowhead picture. Wow.
Yeah, these are awesome. Cool, man. Lots of stuff, lots of ancient stuff in here. We're going to have to go through some of these books and everything. But, thank
All right.
you guys.
Now there's presents thrown everywhere.
Yeah, I
in
know.
here.
Now there's still boxes and stuff all over the floor in here.
Thank you guys so much. We really
Yeah, thank you
appreciate
guys.
it.
All right, and thank you, Laura,
Yeah.
Yeah.
for doing the hat stuff. So
Yeah. Oh, I'm loving it.
Yeah. Well, we'll take a quick break and clean all this up and come back for space weather news.
Yes, sir. Break time. Okay, we're back. Studio's cleaned up.
That's right.
The snake wife is gone.
That's right. So thanks to everybody who sent a box. Becca, History Shift, Brandon, Matt. Don't let me forget anybody. Ann. Who else we got? I probably should have made a list before I tried to do this. Oh, John and Meg.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you guys so much.
So never did that.
Yeah, we can do that too. All right, so let's go ahead and do space weather news from spaceweather.com. A Comet Neowise sighting. Comet Neowise, or C/2020 F3, is brightening rapidly as it passes by the sun. This morning, Ray Brooks of the Arizona Sky Village near Tucson saw the comet just before sunrise, and he sends this report. Wow, very bright, he says. It would have been a spectacular naked eye sight in dark skies at a decent elevation. At the moment, though, it is near the sun, 12 degrees away at this moment, and it must be observed low in the glowing pre-dawn sky. Using binoculars, Brooks first spotted the comet at an incredibly low altitude of 0.6 degrees. The comet brightened as it rose above a very slight haze, he says. Peak contrast against the ever-brightening sky was at 4:35 MST at an altitude of 2.9 degrees. I kept it in view and then checked my watch, and when I looked back at the eyepiece, I lost it, he says. He estimated the magnitude of the comet as 0 to +1. If those numbers hold or improve, other skilled amateurs will be seeing and perhaps photographing Comet Neowise in the mornings ahead, so stay tuned. Also, why are noctilucent clouds so wavy? Anyone who's seen noctilucent clouds would agree they are extraordinarily wavy, much more so than ordinary clouds near the surface of the Earth. Consider this example photographed by Marek Nikodym of Sluzin, Poland. Totally got that right. You can check spaceweather.com for the picture. He says, on the morning of June 30th, an exceptionally bright and beautiful display was visible. Even random people who went to work in the morning stopped to admire the electric blue ripples. So what makes the noctilucent cloud so wavy? The answer lies in the lower atmosphere. Powerful storm systems and other disturbances near Earth's surface send ripples of temperature and pressure up into the sky. These ripples are called gravity waves. Gravity waves can propagate all the way up to the mesosphere, where they imprint themselves on the forms of noctilucent clouds. Often, gravity waves break in the noctilucent zone, dumping their energy and momentum there. Radar studies of noctilucent wave structures can trace this energy and tell researchers a great deal about upper atmospheric circulation.
So these are not gravitational waves, like gravity waves.
I guess. I don't know. It says powerful storm systems send ripples of temperature. I don't know why they're calling them gravity waves.
Just a nickname.
Yeah, just a nickname. So, current conditions, solar wind speed is 326.3 kilometers per second, and the density is a medium to high 9.2 protons per cubic centimeter. Sunspot number right now is 0, but the current stretch is only 3 days because we've had a couple of very small sunspots in the past couple of weeks.
All right.
So, the 2020 total now is down to 75% total spotless days, below the 2019 total of 77%. Also, here's a new current conditions thing that's interesting about cosmic rays and neutron counts.
Aha!
Percentage of the space age average neutron count today is 10.5% plus, which is they rate as very high. And the max has been 11.7% plus, which is very high. So this is plus over the average that has been measured during the space age. So they explain this as solar minimum is underway. The sun's magnetic field is weak, allowing extra cosmic rays into the solar system, and neutron counts from the University of Oulu's Sodianka Geophysical Observatory show that cosmic rays reaching Earth in 2020 are near a space age peak. So
right on. That's a great metric.
Yeah. All right, that's your space weather news for this week.
I appreciate it there. Back to me.
Back to you, Kyle. You have a space weather story, or are we going to go straight to me emails?
Let's do the emails.
All right.
I got a bunch of stuff I'm going to kind of try to skim over here.
Okay. So, as you guys probably know, we have a lot of emails because we haven't done any in the past, 3 weeks? Has it been 3
something
weeks?
like
2
that.
weeks? So I'm going to go through some of these pretty quick. This one's from Hob. Says, hi, Snakes. Thank you a lot. Really enjoy the podcast. Got my Serpent t-shirt. It is beautiful. Know that I am a walking advertisement for you in the Netherlands. I could never have guessed you were able to F up my name so badly. Kudos to you. You called me Hop. It's not a P, it's a B. Yeah, I know. Hobbs. Hobbo. Hobber. Hobbs. Yes, thank God. And he says, if you can't manage, just call me Johnson.
Hops.
They do at work. Don't know why. And yeah, I am from the Netherlands. We still live in the Middle Ages and give all our money to one effing family. I guess the king or something. So he's talking
Probably.
about. Love your podcast. The insights are great. Like how to possibly read Gilgamesh, for example. Loved episode 28, 48, 56, 67, 109, 141. Better stop. Can't list them all.
Hops.
And he also says, be well and may the snake force be strong in the watcher. Oh, he says it's Haba. Is that right? H-O-B. This is how he's showing me. Haba? Haba? Yeah, Hobbs. P.S. Completely robbed your library, so yes, I will donate. I have to. Snacks!
All right. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. This is from the universe. Dear Russ, I got your message about the constant connections. I'll have to talk with the stars and the planet, but I can tell you from experience they are really fond of their celestial alignments and such. It is likely that you will continue to experience these random alignments for the foreseeable future. Sincerely, the universe.
Man, you got an email from the universe.
Yeah. Dear universe, please stop connecting everything to everything else. I guess he's saying can't be done.
Do that.
That was actually from Kevin. Okay, so this is from B. Right? Istvan, I guess is the name he gives at the bottom. He says, you are great. Yeah, hi, guys. First of all, thanks for the great podcast. Especially special thanks for giving us the one and only Randall Carlson. Could you please direct me to some discussions on the number of people who lived on the Earth in the past? You mentioned this as well in some podcasts, but not seen a detailed discussion, or I simply have not had enough time to find it. Thanks for making my boring office job a fantastic time travel. Keep up the amazing work you do. Regards, Istvan.
There's a lot of controversy about
How many people? Yeah.
populations in the past. Yeah.
So the reason why we've talked about this on Cosmographia and we've discussed it here, like no one really knows how many people, you know?
Now there are, different schools of thought on the estimates, and this is like when and where,
Yeah.
right? So in American history, there's a huge range of ideas about the populations of the natives here over various time periods before people came across the Atlantic.
And then before the Younger
and before
Dryas.
that,
and
yeah.
No one
So
knows.
That's a really complex question.
Yeah. And
Well,
I
the
mean,
answer is-
I've seen where they're trying to estimate, how many people lived in, like the Siberia area at various times, or like how many people lived in like northern China. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
it's all over the place, and the numbers are wide ranging. And yeah, you have to kind of target a specific period, and it's just.
Yep.
So I agree, Istvan, we have the same questions. Someone should talk about this in a clear way.
And how to do it? How do you do that?
Yeah.
You would have to base it off of, what information would you base it off of? If you're looking at if you're digging up ancient sites and you're at a certain stratigraphy level and you're finding certain types of artifacts, and you have numerous other sites in various different places, and roughly in the same levels, you're finding similar artifacts. So you can say, well, these people may have lived simultaneously. And so from that, you could try to estimate how many people, but you don't know if you've found all of the sites. Most likely you haven't. So you have to figure what is the percentage of sites that you've actually found. And then there may be a number of sites that have been found that haven't been excavated.
Right.
There's if you go to Cahokia, for example, in I'm still talking about the Americas here, but Cahokia, they look at the ruins in Cahokia, the city in Illinois, ancient city settlement thing, and they estimate what was the population of the city based on the size of the structures and fecal stanals in the lakes and stuff like that. It's really hard to tell.
And with that one, they come up with a big number. For that. Yeah.
Just for that city.
Right.
And then, how long was it here? So they look at the lake cores, sediments, or the lake sediment cores, and try to figure out, so it was inhabited for so many hundreds of years, but it looked like there was a population drop at this time. And I mean, there's just so much that goes into figuring that out. And
there are no good numbers.
If they killed all the mammoths by eating burgers, it was a lot of people.
Yeah. But another thing, like a lot of people in the Discord, and I just want to say this, talk about this kind of stuff. So to all of you, and I'm going to be going through some of these, but everybody who's emailing us asking these questions, I would just say, man, jump in the Discord, because you can ask these questions in there, and there's so many snakes in there now that have tons of different resources, and they have various knowledge types, and you can say like, hey, does anybody know how many people may have lived in this? And they'll give you that. No one knows, but they have the resources to.
Another thing you can do is just imagine all the people wearing bird flaps.
That's right. And that'll be almost as an exact science as archaeology today. All right. This is a comment for episode 150, The Arrow of Time. It is from Unknown. Parts unknown. Keep this shit up, boys. This podcast is so badass. This information courses through my veins like snake venom once it reaches the brain. The information is so powerful the brain has to expand by 30% or it starts melting down from sheer information overload. Thank you, Snake Bros, for the bigger brain. My girlfriend finds it sexy. Thank you, Unknown. Fantastic comment.
Send that man some Brewmaster beers.
I know. Okay. Bros, this one is from... I don't know who this is from. Bros, two quick things. It's called Maverick Buddha Tests Dowsing. Many times in your discussion of Gods of Eden, you read and discussed the original Maverick teachings of the Buddha and Jesus and wondered where those teachings could be. The author apparently didn't elaborate on them or know about them. In my younger years, I attended a 10-day silent Vipassana Buddhist meditation course in New Hampshire. And I know there is another one near Dallas, and I think it is what you are looking for, or maybe very close. It was based on the original teachings of Buddha and was centered on focusing on the breath and sensations on the body and not reacting negatively to them. Interesting. And then he also gives us a way to maybe test dowsing. He says, Russ mentioned on Where Did the Road Go that he would like to know a way to test dowsing. And he gives us some ideas. That's pretty cool. Run some hoses and... We have come up with some ideas. I'm just saying, like, I want to do it more. Is what I was trying to say.
I think you successfully doused. I mean, I'm going to stick by that. By that.
Yeah.
Russ went out there to find an electrical line, and he doused all over the place where we knew that the electrical line was, and he couldn't find it.
That's right.
And so then we hired the people with the big machine to come find the electrical line where we knew it was, and they couldn't find it. And then we found out it was completely somewhere else. So successful dowsing.
Right. I didn't get a false positive is Kyle's point.
I mean,
I came back in, I was like, I'm a failure.
We had to trench through this place and we needed to know where that electrical line was. And Russ's dowsing told us it wasn't there. So that's successful dowsing in my opinion.
That's right. I did come in though. I was like, I failed because we thought it was in there somewhere. I was like, man, I didn't get shit. I ain't found shit. Okay. This one's from Eric. He says, Snake Bros, since I have discovered your podcast on YouTube a couple of weeks back, I have done nothing but binge every episode since then, and I am currently on George Howard. And when I'm not listening, I think about what you say on the podcast. Needless to say, it has taken over my life. LOL. I know you guys haven't dived deep into aliens on your show, but I was curious what your feelings are when it comes to the government disclosing UFOs during the COVID quarantine, knowing full well it would be buried by other news. Also, the Space Force flag depicts a triangular craft that looks remarkably like what people have reported seeing since the 80s. If you Snakes did cover this in an episode and I just haven't got there yet, please direct me to the episode so I don't waste your time. Love the podcast, bros. You Snakes. Keep up the good work, Eric. P.S. Thank you for the 30% bigger brain.
Yeah, we should do a deep dive on aliens, man. We should.
We are. It's coming.
Yep.
It's in the works.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, thank you so much. But so, yeah, I guess to answer your question, we haven't done it yet, except for, well...
I mean, we did some Anunnaki stuff. And
yeah, and I've done some Ivan T. Sanderson stuff, and yeah.
Strange lights in the sky.
Right, but we haven't...
yeah.
We haven't really really taken a deep dive into the UFO talk. The only time I kind of did was with the Antarctica stuff.
Yeah.
So if you want to look at the... if you're at George Howard, you probably listened to the Antarctica episode, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Okay, this is a really long one from Brandon.
Ultimate Snake Bros letter.
So I'm just gonna... It's so long, I'm just gonna have to be able to read. He says... My path was Graham Hancock to Randall Carlson to Robert Schock to Scott Walter to Greg Little to Crystal Hippies to thousands of hours on YouTube and Snakes. And I am staying here. Respect. And yeah, Brandon, there's a lot of good stuff in here. I did read this whole thing, but I can't read all this on the show. But he does say, look at his PS. It's just as long as the rest of the email.
That's a really long Snakes.
Yeah.
Right there.
Snakes! Yeah. Angie. Angie, thanks for the email. I understand that you have been climbing out of dark rabbit hole. No problem. That sometimes happens.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a comment for the David Getson episode 151. So glad you decided to do this spontaneous show. Excellent guest plus 4 a.m. plus wine equals instant classic.
Awesome. I was worried, I have to admit. Wine is strictly forbidden on this podcast.
Yeah, wine for Kyle is. I mean, man, I started to get hammered on that show too.
But dude, I was drinking wine since 4 or so. When did they show up? Like 4:30?
Yeah, we had samples of our stuff to show them.
I brought a whole bunch. I brought like a gallon of some stuff.
So 12 hours later, we're drinking more wine on the show.
He brought the Riesling.
Yeah.
So we busted that out on the show, and I was like, after the second glass, I was like,
yeah, I drank the first
What about
glass.
portals?
Yeah,
in your
like how yeah. What if you have portals? And he's like, can we go back to architecture? We're like, yeah, but portals for doors, bro. It was great. Yeah, and another one from John, same episode. He says, great episode. This podcast goes from strength to strength. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay, this one's from Arthur. What up, Snakes? He says, yo, what up, Snake Boys? I know this email is long and drawn out, so I donated $250, give or take, to make up for it. Wow. Thank you so much. Anyway, great email. Moving on to the next one. No, I'm joking. First off, he says, I want to say that I love the podcast. You both are definitely smarter than me. No, I don't think so. But my thought was, when I first heard y'all, I was like, damn, the voices in my head have a podcast. So thanks for taking an open-minded yet pragmatic search for the truth. I am not new to thinking about the mysteries of the universe, but I am new to seeking others' thoughts and wisdom on the subject. The reason for the email is I want your opinion and advice on an idea or theory I've had. Since my knowledge of esoteric thought is limited, I was hoping y'all could point me in the direction of anything already looking at the past in this mindset. Y'all's episode on Gilgamesh was amazing and helped solidify some of my thoughts about how to interpret the past. I'm going to outline my thoughts the best I can, and any thoughts or direction you can add would be greatly appreciated. All right. When I am trying to understand things, I often sit back and try to release all my preconceived notions. I've been trying to do that with the idea that there was an ancient advanced civilization. The question I've been asking is, if I was an advanced civilization on the brink of disaster, how would I best conserve my knowledge for a future people? Or what is the most foolproof way of conserving data?
I love this question.
Yeah. If I was an advanced civ, I would know that written language is useless. Just look at the ancient texts we have available to us now. If it wasn't for Rosetta Stone type information, we, as advanced as we are, wouldn't be able to decipher shit. Not only that, but a written language is also full of pop culture norms. For someone in the distant future to understand our language, not only would they need to interpret the letters themselves, but also the culture they were written in. A good example of this is to think how we would document that we understood nuclear physics. What would you say? That you understood the atom? How would you explain what the atom was? It would involve so many layers to give a good picture with language. And if the people interpreting it aren't as advanced as you, that doubles the problem because they wouldn't even be able to conceive of what you're trying to explain. A simple translation would be something like this. We understood the power of the sun. So unless you have all the current understanding of the implications of that, it would seem like magic. Look how different languages are currently. Chinese is intensely different from English. This is true, and we evolved along the same timeline. Now imagine how a language might change after 5,000 years or 10,000 years or 100,000 years. In fact, if you think about it, there are an infinite amount of languages because any symbol can mean anything. My conclusion is, if there's a scenario wherein you're trying to leave wisdom for a people 5,000 years in the future, language is the worst form of communication. And if you're an advanced civilization, you would certainly understand this. So the question is, what form of communication will never change? And the answer, obviously, is math. The math of all these formulas and information will be almost eternal. If you find the equation to the exact formula of the half-life of hydrogen on an ancient ruin, that will speak much more strongly than we understood the power of the sun. That leads us to our next question. What is the best way to preserve math? The documentation of math runs into the same problems as the documentation of language. There are infinite possibilities of language and of documentation. That goes for the spoken word or formulas. The way we write our math now may be incredibly different in 5,000 years. The number of pi might be hieroglyphics of a cat in a hat in 10,000 years, and without huge cultural context and interpretation, you could not interpret it. So, Snake Bros, what's the only way I can see of actually preserving data over millennia in ways that can't be manipulated by language or time? You build objects that display these data in their construction and ratios. Because no matter how much communication changes through the ages, a 3x3 will be a 3x3. If this theory is correct, it would imply that there are ancient structures that are mathematically intricate, and as snake kiddos, we know that this is true. So, my question and reason for reaching out is, are there people looking at the past in this manner? I know that the pyramids match the diameter of the Earth, yada, 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 but is there anyone looking deeper into the math of some of these structures to see what they're telling us? I know that I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. So if this seems stupid and isn't original, please feel free to blast me. I'm just searching for the truth in my own caveman way. I feel happy and privileged to write you and listen to your work, and any response would be an honor. From Art.
Fantastic.
Man.
I love it. I've been thinking about this in a way, a piece of this idea that you're talking about. But this was in much more modern terms. Even, I guess, was it the last episode we were... what am I thinking of? Oh, okay, it's Cosmographia. I'm thinking of some of the accounts, like, and we've done this too. A lot of these older accounts of people seeing things in the sky or hearing stuff. They will describe it as, for example, if we described a sound, right? It rumbled like a freight train or like 10 freight trains at the same time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in 100 years, people may not know what the sound of a freight train is.
Yeah.
So we use all these, like what he's pointing out right here. We still to this day use a lot of modern analogies, right? That will possibly make no sense even in 50 years.
Yeah. There are contextual things in the language
Yes.
of description that will defy explanation in not very long.
That's right.
Even if the civilization doesn't collapse.
Right. And
Like, people might be able to look up on their computer what a freight train was, but they still won't have an understanding of what it sounds like.
or what it felt like if it was going by.
Yeah.
You know, So there are things that we could say, well, lightning flash, right? You could describe that, and people will recognize that in the future, most likely.
Yeah.
But yeah, his point, well taken, which is build these ratios into the structures, and that is it's a library in stone, as Graham Hancock put it, right?
Yeah.
What the fact that they might put these mathematical principles into the stone is telling us that they had discovered this, but it doesn't really, as we discover those things, we're still not getting a complete message. It's really hard.
Yeah.
So I think one of the other things I think is symbol, even though you can lose the context, is much more effective over time, which is why we have all these myths that are connected to the stars.
Yeah.
The stars are eternal compared to us. And so you create all these human stories about love and babies and, wars and fighting or whatever.
Yeah.
Beautiful women or, a strong warrior.
Yeah, you have archetypes in the stories. Yeah.
And so those things can represent other things, but it still requires decipherment. I mean, you have to.
Yeah, you have to have somebody who can teach you.
But I also agree with the math problem. I mean, I just watched a 2.5 hour long video of math, and I was just like, yeah, this is like all the symbols we're using are Greek, ancient alphabetical letters, right? They're just arbitrarily.
They are literally Greek.
Yeah, they're chosen.
This stuff is Greek to me.
They're just picked. Like, okay, we're going to use this to represent that.
Yeah, so delta is, change of force over time or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So you would have to look at an equation and figure out, start putting in real world things in place of each character to see if it worked. But still, that would be, what do the parentheticals mean? What does that line that you're putting this above and that below mean? Those things would be lost completely.
Yeah. I also, and I don't want to, I'm gonna be a bit of a skirp here, right? A bit of a skirp-tart here. Now, I'm not totally, but I just want to point out that I also think we need to be careful, and I have done this in the past, and it's only much more recently, like in the past couple of years, where I've stopped doing this so much. Where in the past I was inclined to look at these ancient structures, whether they were stone circles, even rough ones like some of the stuff you see in England or whatever, all the way up to the pyramids and everything, and I would look at them as like Kyle just said, libraries in stone, like what you said in your email, Arthur. You said, that how would I preserve my knowledge if I was an ancient civ? And I just think we probably shouldn't put that. That should be a possibility, but I don't like. Chris Dunn said this to us when we were talking to him. He was like, let's not impose that viewpoint on these structures. He says, hey, looking at a human stuff that we know that they've done for the past 6,000 years or so, civilizations build things for themselves, not for people that are 5,000 years from them.
Right, but if we knew we were going to be destroyed, that was the very first thing that he said.
Yeah, would they waste their time on that, or would they be trying to figure out a way to survive, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
right?
That's a good question.
I just don't, what I'm trying to say is like, it seems to me the most likely thing an advanced civilization would do if they thought if the planet was about to have an ELE, like an extinction level event, is they would put all of their resources into saving as many people as possible, not building structures that will teach people 5,000 years in the future. Maybe. I don't know. Some people might do that. I'm just saying, like, let's be careful with thinking that that's what these structures are. I do think that they contain all this. They obviously do contain all this interesting math, but that may be because the people who were building them were including that stuff in there for a purpose, like Chris Dunn says, like that they were building those structures with all that stuff included in it because it had utility. That's another way to look at it.
Yeah, I like that view as well.
Yeah. So,
but I do think it's a good thing.
But going back to your question, I think it is a good one, and we should be asking that. I think that there's more possibilities than that they're just libraries in stone.
But I also think it's important to ask the question of ourselves: what would we do, and what can we do?
Yeah.
to put these things that we've discovered in some format that will be able to be transmitted to the future.
Right.
Whether we're going to die tomorrow or not.
Yeah.
You know, like I think it's a great thing to figure out, because just like we were saying, you know, in 1,000 years, we may be gone.
Yeah.
It would be nice to already have in place something that would transmit this information to the future.
Yeah. And I've mentioned this on the show before a couple of times when this subject comes up. But there was a project that was kind of based around, in a way, it was based around this idea. It was more specific than like, how can we transmit our knowledge of the universe to the future? It was more like, how do we warn people 10,000 years from now about our nuclear waste dumps?
Yeah.
And I just watched that project. I mean, it was they were like, okay, so here's the thing. We've got these waste dumps. They're deep underground because that keeps us from having to deal with them. But, you know, if we get wiped out or whatever, what are people, 10,000 years from now, somebody comes across this and they have no idea it's there. And how do we warn them away from it? And there, you look at all the ideas they come up with, and I'm looking at the ideas they come up with, which involve carvings of pictures and pictographs of people getting killed in weird ways. And I'm like, none of that's going to work. None of it's going to work because no one's going to believe it. If you just look at archaeology today and they're like, oh, look at this superstitious crap. There's a Pharaoh's curse bullshit. And they go in there anyway and they all die. I mean, so you're right about that, too.
Yeah, the best way to do it, as you said before many times, is hide the door.
That's right.
Hide the door.
That's right.
The best secrets are kept hidden.
That's right. Make sure it can't be found is the best way to do it.
Shoot it at the sun.
That's right. So thank you so much for that, man. I hope we.
Hey, man,
you made a lot of great points, and
that's a great question. I often contemplate that question, not more so about what we would do today, because like Russ said, it's hard to. You can't really say that that's what they were doing in the past, but it is. Definitely a cool idea.
Yeah. Okay.
But if it was, somebody has to decipher it.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be me.
This is from Anne, another Anne. She says, inspired to bad poetry by your podcast. Hello, gentlemen. I reside high up on the latitudinal plains of Alberta, Canada, amidst the dusty bones of dinosaurs and a hell of a lot of snow some 7 months out of the year. From my perspective, the Grimerica guys in Calgary live in the deep south.
Freaking Neelas.
Being a reader of Graham Hancock and his like, it was just a matter of time before I found your podcast. It was on Where Did the Road Go, where I first smacked Muggins first into your pithy puns and, of course, infectious giggles. I looked you up on YouTube, started on episode 2, and have been with you ever since. The diversity of your flawed knowledge and interests is commendable, and I stand in awe of your parents and family for genetically modifying such impressively inquisitive Adamu. Keep up the fabulous work, and I leave you with some bad poetry that I wholly blame you for making me produce. All the best, learning and giggling with you, Anne. Ode to, this is the poetry. I'm going to read this. I'm terrible at reading poetry. Here we go. Ode to Tards. O ye scriptic faded Tards, you derps. A coprolidian shard. The standard model you regard, with cultish credo, pure, unmarried. Thine eyes unveiled in orthodox, of academe impossiblocks. Come see the circle for the pie, ally not with stuff, quantify. Dare the butt flap to unwind and risk 30% enlargement of mind. So join the brothers of the snake, degrees of ignorance to forsake. At 10 by 10 by Tangent Pod, though often wrong and often flawed, come see the world through this eye. If not, then just get lost and die. And send these guys straight to pyramids. Poem over.
That's freaking awesome. Yes. Well done. Well done.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. This one is called Ringing Stones. This is from Joanne. She says, Dear Snake Bros, I was re-listening to your interview with Chris Dunn, which was freaking awesome, by the way. And the subject of the ringing obelisk topic came up, which I had totally forgot about first run through. I remembered that I had heard of ringing stones before, found in South Africa. The researcher is Michael Tellinger, and I have included a link to his short YouTube video on the subject where he demonstrates this phenomenon. I am assuming you have heard of him, but I have not heard you mention him yet, so maybe you haven't. I have heard of him. I haven't totally gone down the rabbit hole of his stuff, but yeah, I have heard his name before. Let's see. The stones contain patina. Patina or sheen produced by age, wear, and polishing, or any similar acquired change of a surface through age and exposure. Some stones produce 2 different frequencies. I wonder if these stones could be linked in any way to ringing obelisks. Considering these stones were found in South Africa, it begs the question, were these stones found everywhere or just South Africa? If only found in South Africa, did the butt flappers transfer the stones to Egypt? Just a thought as I was re-binge listening to your podcast. Cheers, Joanne. Snacks!
That's cool.
Yeah, ringing stones are found all over the place.
Now, I have to say that this is not...
rare.
Yeah, any stone being, crystalline in its structure is going to be a resonant body. It won't attenuate quickly. In other words, not like, a lump of rubber. So it has to be suspended in a particular way to allow the vibration to be sustained. Kind of like you imagine the bridge and the nut between, on a guitar, suspending the string so that it can vibrate. If you were to lay the string down in sand or something, it wouldn't ring. So it's the same with a stone. If the stone is mounted or sitting in a way that's suspending parts of it and you hit it, it's going to ring.
Yeah. Some places they're not, though, like Ringing Rocks Park. Those stones are just laying all over the ground, sitting on top of each other.
But they're sitting on top of each other, so they are sitting on bridges, for example, frets. You could think of it like that. They're suspended across rigid structures.
Yeah.
And then with stones, since a lot of times they're not perfectly homogeneous, they can have suspended
they
parts
make more than
inside
one tone.
them, right?
Yes, yeah. Yep. I mean, we have them here, like some of the more flinty rocks, you can just hit it, it'll ring. But, it's not like a bell. And some of these, you can hit them and they ring for a long time. Mm-hmm. So it's just that, they have a varying degrees of lithophonic properties.
Right.
So I don't think that the Egyptians had to go get them from somewhere. They were getting it. That ringing obelisk is Aswan granite, which is like 55% quartz. It makes it very ringy.
Very resonant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
what was strange, though, is I think it was, I can't remember what the situation was, what Dunn was telling us that kind of surprised me was what the situation was with the one that you could just hit with your fist and it would just ring and ring.
Yeah, it's broken. It's on the ground or something like that.
It's laying in the sand or something, which is what,
and that he would wrap his hand in something and then hit it.
Yeah, that to me was interesting because you'd think it would be dampened laying in the sand. So that tells me that it is probably dampened. If it was standing up, it'd probably ring a lot more. Yeah. Much more resonant. Yeah. Okay.
And I've seen a video of it. Of course, if a camera can't really pick it up. But I saw a video. It might have been David Hatcher Childress with some other people, and they were standing next to it, and the guy like wrapped his hand in a cloth or something, and then he hit it, and boom.
That's cool. Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. This is from Roddy the Mammal. Several thoughts. He says, "Dear Ophidian siblings and sublime spouse, once again, I press furry fingers to keyboard to type yet another meandering mammalian missive to my favorite scholarly serpentine siblings and spousal siren. A few thoughts. 1. The addition of Laura to the podcast is most welcomed. Her particularly pointed observations rendered in that soft, silky voice is the perfect complement to the conspiratorial explorations into the hidden and lost history of humankind. 2. The Egyptian pantheon of gods with their animal heads makes me wonder if such representations are of heraldic families, groups, clans, etc., perhaps there was an attempt to limit interactions between the custodial race of gods and the Egyptians to a singular persons, in order to reduce the physical contact between the two races lest diseases infect one or both. For example, perhaps the god Horus is not a falcon-headed immortal being, but a series of singular successive representatives from the house of Horus who restricted their movements solely to the Egyptians lest some leprous disease infect the other Horai. 3. It seems that in many cultures, many cultures, the gods descend from the sky. Why? Are they, in fact, extraterrestrial beings from another planet, remnants of a civilization that fled to the high mountains during a time of cataclysmic flooding, or perhaps with humans living beneath the wondrous dome of the sky, which, unlike the earth beneath us, seems ever-changing from dawn to dusk, ever renewing from night to day? Perhaps observing the dance of stars at night helped to instill within the emerging sentience of humankind a questioning sense of wonderment and a growing belief in something greater than ourselves. Or did those funny mushrooms they ate with their mammoth steaks start kicking in? One does wonder. Thank you in advance. Yours, Roddy the Mammal.
That's very good. I like that.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry I didn't get to read that while Laura was here. Of course, she was just here with us for the Gods of Eden book. I'm sure she would have loved to have heard all that stuff you said about how amazing she is.
She'll hear it.
Yeah, she will hear it. I don't know what to think of the pantheon of gods. People have talked about how maybe these images represent a succession of people from the same family. That's often given as an explanation, if one is even being looked for the older numbers in the king list stuff, right? When it says this person ruled for 10,000 years, well, maybe that was, not a single person, but a family.
Yeah, that's pretty good, but that's a long dynasty.
It's still a long time, yeah. And some of them are like 64,000 years, and this is a long time. Yes, we also wonder why there's this idea of the gods descending from the sky. And I agree, I think your 2 points are they extraterrestrials or people who could fly, who are just coming down out of the sky, because when you fly, you're in the sky. You're not necessarily coming from space. I think those are good points. Like, yeah.
The other point that he was making was that they were observing the stars doing this dance in the sky, and so that was that what he was trying to say?
Yeah, he was saying, so if it's not extraterrestrial beings or remnants of a advanced civilization that gives us the idea of gods descending from the sky, are they just observing the dance of stars during the emerging sentience of humankind and a growing belief in something greater than ourselves?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It made me think that maybe there were larger cycles that they were recording. So, for example, you have the age of the Ram, the age of Pisces. These are 2,160 year periods. But you go back in the King's List, you get 43,200. Like they're larger cycles that they're saying, okay, this was a kind of like a golden age, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they're delineating them in a way that's based on astronomical cycles.
Yeah.
I mean, they are, the numbers work for that anyway, in terms of precession.
Yes, that's right. And I mean, I
don't know.
I don't know.
Great questions.
Yeah. Let's see. We got Evolution of Snakes from Alexander. I am loving listening to you talking about interesting stuff that has interested me for decades. Some of what you say resonates with me, and some is stuff I have looked into deeply. Some is new stuff to me, but sometimes the stuff you say is jarring. One of the jarring things is your attitude towards the theory of evolution. Certainly, it's worthy not to swallow everything that is fed to us by the scientific mainstream, but on the other hand, it is not worthy to dismiss everything either. At one point in episode 130, 13. Wow, that's a long time ago, bro. It doesn't even count anymore. At episode 13, I heard the statement that no one has ever observed speciation, which is not true. Hearing that stimulated me to write my first email to you. I don't yet know what stimulated my second. I recommend watching at least some of these presentations. Possibly they will give you a clearer understanding of the scientific theory of evolution, and thanks for what you're doing.
I don't discount evolution.
Yeah, me either. I think there's holes in it. It's not fully explained, which I think that most people who are scientifically looking at evolution agree with. I haven't watched the video you linked, but I find it extremely hard to believe that it is proof of speciation. It's not going to be a frog turning into a lizard or something. Right? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they have.
I am not aware that this has ever been observed.
Right. It always says that this takes a very, very long time over small adaptations. How can it have been observed?
Is that what he said?
Yeah, he says, at one point you make the statement that no one has ever observed speciation, which is not true. That's what he says.
Just checking.
Yeah.
I believe it's true.
Yes. Seems like it's true to me. Okay. This is from Casey. Says, brothers, how art thou? I wanted to send thanks for the work you lot are doing. It is greatly needed and appreciated, giving a home to wondering, walking question marks the world over. I also wanted to add that the music on the show is fantastic, atmospheric, beautiful, just the right vibe. However, if you ever tire of it or are in want of something a little different or an especially apocalyptic episode, I wanted to offer up a song that I think speaks to our common interests. But I'll see you at the pyramids. Snakes! From Casey.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Casey. Wait. Not the, well, anyway. Ragosa, maybe? I don't know.
Okay. This one he tells me, do not read this one on the air. Okay, so I won't do that. Thanks for saying that. It's too bad because it has great questions in it. What the hell? Okay. Life carrying icicles and blobs of liquid death. This is what this one's called. From Joe. Snakes! As of this summer, I have caught up to you in real time, the forward version, and now I'm a Patreon supporter. During my 30% brain expansion, there has been one set of stories driving me nuts. The rain of fish and frogs from the sky. What? How can people read the accounts or see the videos on YouTube and simply say they got sucked up in a vortex? Where was the vortex? What vortex selectively picks up anything, let alone hundreds of thousands of living organisms? How do people walk away from this phenomena without utter bewilderment? After months of pondering, I believe I have a working hypothesis. An admittedly over-the-top hypothesis. The fish originated on Tiamat. Upon the collision with Marduk, a pristine section of ocean containing one exclusive breed of fish, Phlasphorus. Similar to the Mastodon in Alaska. This space iceberg then drifted into the asteroid belt. The spark of life was maintained by the crypto-frozen fish via their tulpa spirit. The spaceberg collides with the Earth, melts at the required reanimation temperatures, and voila! You have fish of a selective species raining down in a specific area. This line of thought brought me to another hypothesis that is exactly the same, but the opposite. What if the Carolina Bays were not the result of flying stadium-sized icebergs, but of stadium-sized blobs of water that had started out as icebergs, then melted due to the extreme heat associated with impacts and held together due to hydrogen bonding forces, and blammo, you have rounded drops all over the East Coast. Love the podcast. Snake-a-doodle-doo. Man, these are my kind of hypotheses. This is great stuff.
Man, dude, we could go out and mine one of those freaking fishbergs, dude. Holy crap. Fresh fish from space.
Yeah.
Stash would love it.
He also says, could you reply with a P.O. box? I am a stay-at-home dad and computer time is unacceptable to my 1-year-old. This email has taken me 3 weeks to complete. Discord is a pipe dream.
Space fishbergs.
Space fish.
Gotta go there.
From Tiamat.
Yes.
Another hypothesis that is exactly the same, but the opposite. It's great. Thanks for the email, man. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a lot more emails, but I think we're going to save them for future shows.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.
And we're going to take a break and come back for more stuff we're talking about today. That's right. Snakes! in the 10 by 10 by 10 tangent cube of science, the Snake Bros Institute for Advanced Coprolite Studies, where there are no degrees, only certificates of ignorance about pretty much everything, including evolution and electric universe.
And you have to print them yourself.
That's right. You have to print them yourself. And the spirit world, you know, all of that. Anyway, I've got one of the last two Wolf Hollow Brewing Company beers, the Brewmaster beers. This is the Lock 9 Porter, American Porter. Here we go. You want one?
Sure.
We got this is the last two, bro.
I didn't even know this was a possible thing.
Everyone has been consumed during Snakeness shows.
So I grabbed the Midnight Dreary Black IPA.
Very tasty. And Brewmaster has made some fans of the Johnsons. They want some beers. So we're going to figure out a way to make that happen.
Ooh, man, that one's
So I got some, I got a...
That is good.
Is it tasty?
Yeah. I was not expecting to enjoy it because dark beer is not my thing, but man, this is...
Craft beers are not your thing. Beers are not his thing.
I mean, it's this black IPA. This is a dark beer. I can see it. I opened it up and the foam was dark brown. So I was not expecting to like it, but it's good. It's
So I got a couple of things right off the bat here, both from Science Daily, which is a new site I've been kind of looking into. The first story is about the eruption of Alaska's Okmok volcano linked to a period of extreme cold in ancient Rome. So they just found ice core samples which provide the new evidence of a massive volcanic eruption in 43 BCE. Scientists and historians have found evidence connecting an unexplained period of extreme cold in ancient Rome with an unlikely source, a massive eruption of Alaska's Okmok volcano located on the opposite side of the Earth. A new study uses an analysis of tephra, or volcanic ash, found in Arctic ice cores to link this period of extreme climate in the Mediterranean with the caldera-forming eruption of Alaska's Okmok volcano in 43 BCE. So that's pretty cool. I picked that out because there's another story which I kind of consider this an accompanying story. This one is also from Science Daily. I'm sorry, ScienceDaily.com. Asteroid impact, not volcanoes, made the Earth uninhabitable for dinosaurs. So I thought this was settled.
Yeah, this was an accepted thing.
It is not. Well, it was not, and it probably still is not. This is the date of this is June 29th, 2020. The asteroid which struck Earth off the coast of Mexico at the end of the Cretaceous era 66 million years ago has long been believed to be the cause of the demise of all dinosaur species except those that became birds. However, some researchers have suggested that tens of thousands of years of large volcanic eruptions may have been the actual cause of the extinction event, which also killed off almost 75% of life on Earth. The extinction event did this, not the volcanoes. Now, a research team of Imperial College London, the University of Bristol, and University College London has shown that only the asteroid impact could have created the conditions that were unfavorable for dinosaurs across the globe. They also show that the massive volcanism could also have helped life recover from the asteroid strike in the long term. Their results are published today in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Lead researcher Dr. Alessandro Chiarenza, who conducted this work whilst studying for his PhD in the Department of Earth Science and Engineering at Imperial, said, "We show that the asteroid caused an impact winter for decades and that these environmental effects decimated suitable environments for dinosaurs. In contrast, the effects of the intense volcanic eruptions were not strong enough to substantially disrupt global ecosystems. Our study confirms for the first time quantitatively that the only plausible explanation for the extinction is the impact winter that eradicated dinosaur habitats worldwide." The asteroid strike would have released particles and gases high into the atmosphere, blocking out the sun for years and causing permanent winters. Volcanic eruptions also produce particles and gases with sun-blocking effects. And around the time of the mass extinction, there were tens of thousands of years of eruptions at the Deccan Traps in present-day India. Tens of thousands of years of eruptions. To determine which factor, the asteroid or the volcanism, had more climate-changing power, researchers have traditionally used geological markers of climate and powerful mathematical models. In the new paper, the team combined these methods with information about what kinds of environmental factors, such as rainfall and temperature, each species of dinosaur needed to thrive. They were then able to map where these conditions would still exist in a world after either an asteroid strike or massive volcanism. They found that only the asteroid strike wiped out all potential dinosaur habitats, while volcanism left some viable regions around the equator. Co-lead author of the study, Dr. Alex Farnsworth from the University of Bristol, said, "Instead of only using the geologic record to model the effect on climate that the asteroid or volcanism might have caused worldwide, we pushed this approach a step forward, adding an ecological dimension to the study to reveal how these climatic fluctuations severely affected ecosystems." Co-author Dr. Philip Mannion from the University College London added, "In this study, we add a modeling approach to key geological and climate data that shows the devastating effect of the asteroid impact on global habitats. Essentially, it produces a blue screen of death for dinosaurs. Although volcanoes release sun-blocking gases and particles, they also release carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas. In the short term, after an eruption, the sun blockers have a larger effect, causing a volcanic winter. However, in the long term, these particles and gases drop out of the atmosphere, while carbon dioxide stays around and builds up, warming the planet. After the initial drastic global winter caused by the asteroid, the team's model suggests that in the long term, volcanic warming could have helped restore many habitats, helping new life that evolved after the disaster to thrive." Dr. Sharenza said, "We provide new evidence to suggest that the volcanic eruptions happening around the same time might have reduced the effects on the environment caused by the impact, particularly in quickening the rise of temperatures after the impact winter. This volcanic-induced warming helped boost the survival and recovery of the animals and plants that made it through the extinction, with many groups expanding in its immediate aftermath, including birds and mammals." So that's really interesting to me.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, you have local. I mean, on the one hand, you have the story where a volcano on the other side of the world caused a winter, like a harsh cold period, right, in Rome.
Yeah.
It is noticeable. And then in the other situation, you have tens of thousands of years of volcanoes that help warm things up after an extreme winter caused by an asteroid impact.
Yeah, that is interesting.
These things are complex, right? I mean,
it does say that initially all this stuff
Yes.
from the volcanoes, but you're right. Tens of thousands of years of eruption doesn't give time for that stuff to fall out of the air.
yeah. Well, I'm not necessarily skirp-derping this
Idea.
set of these two different scenarios.
Yeah.
The point is that this is a really complex system, right? These are,
Yeah.
and so it's interesting to me how you can have one causing both a winter and also a long-term warming effect,
Yeah.
right? So if you think about volcanism at the end of the Younger Dryas period, what kind of volcanism was going on at the end during the Younger Dryas?
Yeah.
That could have initially added to the cooling, or obviously there was a significant warming or meltdown, but then there was 1,000 years of cold again.
Yeah.
So there could have been an impact winter plus a volcanic winter, but then as the impact and the dust and gases that collect in the atmosphere
Settle out.
fall out, the volcanism could still be contributing to the warming phase, which we're seeing in the climate data. That's just interesting.
Yeah.
I thought those two stories were an interesting contrast. You would think, and what they were saying was that you would still, even with this crazy volcanism, you would have these habitable areas around the equator.
Yeah.
Right. So one volcano goes off in Alaska and causes serious winters on the other side of the world. That's just pretty cool.
I wonder why they think the equator would have habitable areas.
I'm not sure. I'm not
And I guess they're
sure.
using models to do this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Okay. Another one from Science News. As many as 6 billion Earth-like planets in our galaxy, according to new estimates. So this is just more information that I'm looking at that's building on my cosmic evolution theory.
Yeah.
I'm working on right
Yeah.
now.
Going to be published in Nature soon.
That's right. I do not discount the possibility of evolution. However, I think it might be cosmic in nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there may be as many as one Earth-like planet for every 5 sun-like stars in the Milky Way galaxy,
Wow.
according to new estimates by University of British Columbia astronomers using data from NASA's Kepler mission.
Wow. That's
6
a lot.
billion Earth-like planets
In this galaxy.
in this galaxy alone, all experiencing impacts from comets, from asteroids,
yeah.
throwing biological material into the cosmos and sharing them for billions of years. So this has got to be considered.
Yes.
Okay. Next story. And I shouldn't even be doing this. Our good buddy Phil Plait from Bad Astronomy is writing a story about how the Maya did not predict the end of the world on the 21st of June, 2020. Thank you, sir. Okay. This is a really good one. EarthMysteryNews.com. The rings of Saturn are ringing like a bell. The source is space.com. Saturn's rings are ringing like a bell, which is making it possible for researchers to explore deep inside the heart of the planet. Gravitational forces push seismic waves from Saturn's interior into its ring system, where NASA's Cassini mission was able to detect the minute tremors. According to a new study, a large part of the planet's interior is more layered than previously expected. Planets hide their interior processes behind hard-to-penetrate layers, while rocky bodies like Earth and the Moon can have their layers probed through the study of seismic waves created by quakes. Gas giants have no solid surface to measure such waves. Instead, researchers have to employ other methods, such as studying a planet's magnetic field. Not long after NASA's Cassini mission arrived at Saturn in 2004, researchers realized that the planet's rings were oscillating strangely. Instead of single waves, which are predicted by existing theory, the spacecraft revealed clusters of small waves that could be explained by the presence of gravity waves in the deepest part of the planet's interior. Now, I'm not sure, again, the terminology here, gravity waves versus gravitational waves. It's written as gravity waves, which are not gravitational waves, which gravitational waves are oscillations in the medium of space-time.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what gravity waves are.
But I guess they're implying that seismic movement in Saturn is causing ripples in the rings, basically.
Yeah. So let's read on. What's really special about gravity waves is that their mere existence requires that at least part of that deep interior to be relatively calm and stable rather than convective. Christopher Mankiewicz, a researcher at the California Institute of Technology, told Space.com in an email. Before these new research emerged, basic understanding of our solar system's giant planets suggested that their hot fluid interiors pushed heat outward, much like a lava lamp. But the presence of heavy ingredients like rock and water ice beneath the lighter hydrogen and helium can inhibit the movement of the fluid and generate gravity waves. In the case of Saturn, those waves can cause the planet to ring like a bell. The detection of internal gravity waves in Saturn through ring seismology is now one of the scant pieces of hard evidence that a significant fraction of Saturn's interior is stably stratified rather than convective, Mankiewicz said. On rocky planets like Earth, disturbances beneath the planet's surface can move as a wave traveling through the planet's interior and through its surface. As a result, major tremors can be felt hundreds of miles from the epicenter of a strong earthquake. Eventually, interference from other traveling waves can create a standing wave pattern spanning the entire planet. This is cool. This translates into the whole planet ringing like a bell. Like a bell, the characteristics of this wave are dictated by the planet's size, shape, and composition. They reveal insights into large-scale structures beneath the surface, including those that cannot be otherwise accessed. The same process occurs on Saturn, where a beautiful ring system made up of tiny bits of rock and ice surround the planet. Most of the time, their orbit is calm and orderly, with occasional collisions. Scientists have known for decades that the ring particles can be affected by the gravitational pull of the planet's 82 moons. While ring seismology was proposed in the early 1990s, it wasn't until a spacecraft spent time orbiting the planet that the idea could be put into play. Cassini revealed that the Saturn's rings were also subjected to the tremors of the planet's oscillating gravitational field. The spacecraft characterized more than 20 waves in the Saturn's ring system caused by the heart of the planet. The interactions occur only in special places in the rings, but the results can be dramatic, according to Mankiewicz. The effect is small, with the waves only about a single kilometer from peak to peak, while the rings span nearly 180,000 miles. These waves are really only obvious at a very fine scale, Mankiewicz said. Cassini made it possible to study these waves in exquisite detail by making the journey to Saturn to study the system up close and personal. Understanding what's going on deep in Saturn's heart is very much an ongoing process. According to Mankiewicz, ring seismology favors a thick, stable region that makes up roughly a quarter of the planet's radius. That's somewhat at odds with understanding gleaned from the planet's magnetic field, which favors narrow, stable regions, only 5 to 10% of the planet's interior. Mankiewicz says that it's too soon to say what the results imply about the planet's interior, but that one possibility is that the process that generates the planet's magnetic field is even more different from its fellow gas giant Jupiter than previously anticipated. It will be a fascinating next few years as the full implications of the multi-instrument Cassini data are worked out, Mankiewicz said. But far from being dismayed by the clash, Mankiewicz appeared excited. It's a testament to the power of a spacecraft mission like Cassini that we have such diverse data that different parts of it seem to say different things. It reflects a gap in our understanding and presents an opportunity for discovery. That's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess the gravitational or gravity waves are would be oscillations caused by dense
Moving
objects
mass.
moving mass. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably what it is. We should look it up, but we don't have a watcher.
That's right. But yeah, I think it's interesting that he's saying that the interior of the planet is not just a bunch of convection, which is the standard model of gas
giants. Okay. Next on the list, mysteriousuniverse.org. It is raining diamonds on Neptune and Uranus.
Sweet.
I mean, there's another way to say this. It's raining. But I'm not. Let NASA go back to the moon and Elon Musk go to Mars. People in the know, that's you and me, and the select few we tell, are planning trips to Neptune and Uranus to gather up buckets of diamonds raining from the clouds and bring them back to Earth. Crazy? Not according to a new study by Helmholtz Zentrum Dresden Rosendorf, HZDR. Not a law firm, but a German research organization which developed a way to analyze the hydrocarbon gas mixture enveloping these planets and found that they can produce a kind of diamond rain. When does the next rocket leave? And don't forget to bring a big, strong sack. This guy. Who is this? Paul Seaburn.
Oh, yeah.
It's a Mysterious Universe. At SLAC, National Accelerator Laboratory at Stanford University, the researchers studied the structure of the matter in mixtures that are typical for planets. In the case of ice giants, hydrocarbon, employing intense laser light. I'm not sure. Okay. Standard plastic film served as a substitute for planetary hydrocarbon. An optical high-energy laser converts the plastic into warm, dense matter. Short, strong laser pulses generate shock waves in the film and compress the plastic to the extreme. So this must be this is their experiment.
Yeah.
According to the study published in the journal Nature Communications, researchers at Stanford, under the direction of Helmholtz, Zentrum, Dresden, Rosendorf, used a new technique based on X-ray scattering to simulate the conditions on Neptune, Uranus, and similar gas exoplanets. The short, strong laser-generated shock waves create intense pressure, described as the equivalent of 250 elephants stacked on a human thumbnail, which heats the plastic up to 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Laser light is then aimed at the dense plastic and measured on how it scatters as it passes through. This light can then tell them about the structure of the matter. That's when they made a startling discovery. The researchers observed that in a state of warm, dense matter, what was formerly plastic produces diamonds. The high pressure can split the hydrocarbon into carbon and hydrogen. The carbon atoms that are released compact into diamond structures. In the case of planets like Neptune and Uranus, this means that the formation of diamonds in their interior can trigger an additional energy source. The diamonds are heavier than the matter surrounding them and slowly sink to the core of the planet in a kind of diamond rain. So, dude, Uranus has a massive diamond in its core. You know what I'm saying? Diamond rain. Take your protein pills and put on your helmet. Okay, it's not quite a piece of Neptunian cake to scoop up handfuls of diamonds like the scientists simulated. For one thing, these are ice giants, and the rain is falling on their cores, which are 10,000 kilometers or 6,200 miles deep below the layers of hydrogen, helium, hydrocarbons, possibly nitrogen, and ices made of water, ammonia, and methane. It's that methane which forms the diamonds as the pressure heats up while separating it into carbon and hydrogen. And while the researchers guarantee that this carbon is in the form of diamonds, they don't say how big they are nor what the daily rainfall totals are. Is Neptune Seattle or the Sahara? Are they keeping this information for their own trips to the planets? This is really cool. Anyway, great article. It's raining diamonds on Uranus.
Sparkly butt.
That's right.
Yeah.
So there's new stuff. They're just learning about gas giants. This is interesting, right? What happens to the diamonds when they get way down there into the core? I mean,
I don't know.
You can't really do much with them.
Yeah. I mean, I remember reading, speculations that the centers of some of these planets may just have massive crystalline cores.
So cool to think about.
If you could blow all the gas off, it would just be this gigantic diamond.
That's freaking cool. And then we need to hit it with a hammer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a power plant.
Yeah. That would ring for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that's what the gravitational waves are coming out of Saturn. It's the diamonds hitting the core.
Yes. That could be it. That could be it. So there's my crop of news stories for my segment number 3. Well,
great
segment number 2.
Great segment. Great news stories.
Hope you all enjoyed that, and we will be right back.
Snacks! Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, brothers of the Serpent podcast, with half our pyramids tied behind our backs just to make it square. Here in the 10 by 10 by 10 Tangent Cube of Science.
We are joined by the Watcher. He's actually doing very serious work right now, but he's got us in the earbuds.
Yeah.
While he can, and he may be able to chime in at some point. So, for this last segment, I wanted to go through a couple of ideas, things I've been thinking about in physics, and just pie in the sky stuff. Really, been looking into reading a lot of these stories.
Salty pie.
Yeah. The first thing I want to say is there's a lot of stories coming out all the time about a lot of the research that's going on right now with black holes and dark matter. History Shift sent me an article in the Discord about dark matter experiments they're doing. I have to admit that this stuff is beginning to bore me, and I start reading these articles, and then I don't know. I just can't
lose interest.
I lose interest, and maybe that's the wrong stance to take, but it just is boring. So I'm not really interested in any of that kind of stuff. And lately, I've been listening to a little bit of Eric Weinstein's podcast, The Portal.
The Portal.
This guy is a genius. Can't understand most of what he's saying about physics, but the generalizations that he makes about the state of the science of physics and the state of physics in the past 40 or 50 years, I totally agree with. And I mean, not that my agreement is important, because I can't possibly understand a fraction of what he understands about it. But basically, it's just been a lot of incredibly tedious number crunching and experiments that really don't yield up a whole lot of profound discoveries. They are treated as though they're profound, but they're really just.
You're talking about late stage particle physics. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, it's yes. I've had a problem with it for a long time because I have a bias towards sort of an older idea concerning the ether, that to me, I'm interested in what is this medium that light is traveling through, right?
Yeah.
What is being stretched and compressed, rarefied and compressed to make waves?
Yeah.
Whether light is a particle or a wave, to me, it comes down to what is your detector?
Right.
What are you doing to the energy, to the light, to the photon, to whatever it is that you're trying to detect? This is what do they call it? The problem they have in
the measurement problem.
Yeah, the measurement problem, right? Anyway, so I'm more interested in sort of theoretical ideas of ways of thinking about physics that are kind of new but might fit the data that we have.
Yeah.
Right? And so I have this idea this way. One of my favorite things to do is sitting around and thinking about how the universe works involves time and how to imagine time, because time it's a really difficult thing to get around, right? It's a really difficult thing to imagine when you think of the relativity idea, space-time, that something traveling fast, like if you're traveling at a great speed, you experience time at a different rate than someone that's not traveling as fast, right? Those types of ideas. And the fact that you can't tell how fast you're traveling unless you're measuring something else.
Yeah. It's relative.
It's totally relative. There is no stationary object in the universe with which we can measure our speed.
Right.
So you could be, if you imagine a complete void and you're there in a spaceship, you have no idea if you're traveling or if you're stationary.
Yeah.
And if you see an object approaching you, you don't know if it's stationary or you are.
Right.
You could be approaching that object, or that object could be approaching you, right?
Yeah.
These are cool.
And the assumption that it is that it's both.
Yeah.
That everything is moving.
Everything
But
is
you
in
have-
motion.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah,
There is no such thing as objective speed in the universe.
right. So one of and this brings up one of these. I don't know if I could call it a principle. It's a thing that I think about and I think may be true. And that is that to be in motion is to exist. So if every single thing we have observed in the universe is in motion. And so you could say maybe it's a theorem that if it is not in motion, it doesn't exist. Right?
Yeah.
It's a theorem.
Yeah.
We have yet to detect anything that is not in motion.
That's right.
So perhaps there are things that are not in motion, but they do not interact with anything else. And so we can't detect them. But anyway, the main idea that I want to talk about right now is this idea of time. And this is sort of a space-time idea. And it's so the idea is that as you increase your speed in space, in the 3 dimensions of what we call space, your passage through the 4th dimension of time, your speed in time decreases. So turning time into just another spatial dimension, right? So this is sort of changing the way to conceptualize time. So that as you increase, so you have vectors, right? And I don't know if this is the right term, vectors. So you've got your X, Y, Z, your axis, right? So you have a direction in a vector, right? That's a direction you're moving.
Yeah.
In one of those 3 axes of dimension.
Yeah.
So the 4th vector is the time vector. And you can't imagine it as another thing specifically sticking out of sticking out of a direction, because it doesn't work that way. So this is really difficult. But to imagine that you are in motion in the 3rd dimension and in the 4th dimension. So it's just like if you have your 3-dimensional axes, X, Y, and Z, and you're in motion upon 2 or even 3 of those axes at the same time. If you were to change your vector to where you are going down only one of the axes, right? Then you are now not moving in either of the other ones. Your speed in the others is zero, right? You're turning.
Okay.
In the 3rd dimension.
You would have to have a 0 point to do that, though. So I see what I see.
This is just imagining a graph, right? Like say you graph a 3-dimensional space and you have an object moving through that 3-dimensional space, and you can say it's moving along. Its speed in this vector is x, and its speed in this vector is x.
Yeah,
whatever.
You add them all together, and you get vector. But you're saying like let's shift the vector until it's only moving on the x.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. So now your speed in the other 2 are 0.
Yeah.
Okay. So the idea is that this is what happens when we accelerate in any of the 3 of the spatial dimensions. As we accelerate in any of the 3 spatial dimensions, our speed in the time dimension slows down.
Yes, but isn't that that's only experienced by the thing that's doing the traveling?
That's right, because if
I'm watching you do that travel, it takes
right, because you're still moving at the same speed in time, right? You're still moving. If the object that is not accelerated, or the observer that is not accelerated, is still moving at the same speed in that time vector.
Yeah.
Okay, this is weird. Yeah. Because you can turn around and the thing that's moving at a great speed could turn around and come back and meet you again.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like for me, if you did that, for me it might take 1,000,000 years, but for you it's like 50 or whatever.
Right.
Let's take something ridiculous example like that.
Right.
So that apparent change in that speed in that particular vector is also relative. It's only relative to you.
It's only experienced by, and it's
the
not
thing doing the
actually
traveling.
it's not actually really experienced by the thing doing the traveling, because to you time doesn't seem to change. You don't because of your 3-dimensional body or whatever, your sensors and everything that are bound by this by these 3 dimensions. You don't notice the change in speed either.
Right.
Neither one does.
Yeah.
But when you try to compare the two, you see that there is a difference.
There's a problem. Yeah.
Okay. This is weird. So I'm just saying. So there is this ultimate speed, right? The speed of light. This ultimate speed seems to be an ultimate speed.
Yeah.
And so the thought was, what if at that speed you're actually moving at 0 in the dimension of time?
Yeah.
So that to the light, for example, this is where the terms get difficult, because every term that I could possibly use is reliant on the time idea. But basically, the light is all instantaneous. Everything in the electromagnetic spectrum is instantaneous in a way. It is not
to itself.
Yeah. It is not accelerated or in motion in the vector of time.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the idea. And it could be extremely flawed and total BS, but it's cool to think about to me. So I tried to work out a couple of ideas that
and maybe that's why you can't, the math doesn't work out if you have mass.
This is what, yes. Yeah, you're
is that where you're, okay.
You're going in the right direction.
All right. Yeah, because I just started thinking like, okay, so if because the conventional idea with standard model physics and moving through space and stuff is that if you have even the tiniest bit of mass, that accelerating all the way to 100% of c is something that can't be done.
That's right.
You can't ever pass that last 0.00001%.
That's right.
So there's some kind of, like, are you saying there's some kind of mass time barrier here that I can't cross?
This is what I'm thinking. Okay, so now let's just jump ship for a moment and go to gravity. Okay. Now, there's this idea that gravity is due to the accumulation of mass, right?
Yeah.
It's totally reliant on the mass.
Yeah.
So as you build this massy object, its apparent gravitational energy, or whatever it is called, is stronger and stronger, right?
Yeah.
This is also said to bend space-time.
Yeah.
So, man, the Watcher is throwing so much stuff up here. I've got to get this off I have to get all of this out first.
Throwing up good stuff, Watcher. Kyle's got to get this off his chest.
So this is where I started thinking, okay, the gravity is bending space-time. It is somehow causing a constant acceleration in time. In the time vector.
Okay.
And this, in some way, however these 4 dimensions are related to each other, which is something can't possibly know, but that there is a relationship between the time vector and the first 3 dimension vectors.
Yeah.
And the way mass and all of these objects interact. So that for some reason, because time is not a 3-dimensional spatial dimension, you can be accelerated in some way in the 3 dimensions without moving, right? So this is the phenomenon of gravity. We feel like we're being accelerated towards the center of gravity, right? Or right? This is why we're stuck to the freaking outside of the planet.
You lost me a couple of sentences back.
Forget all that. Let's just talk about the gravity, right? It's an acceleration.
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah. Towards the center of gravity.
Towards the center of gravity, right? So we're being shoved against this.
Yeah.
Okay. So the idea is that and it's a single point. That center of gravity. It's a point. It's not a.
Well, that's how we measure it using math.
Yes. But we're imagining that that's the case, right?
Right. So I was gonna say, are we gonna go to the let's take a point source of gravity like a singularity, because that's the easiest to work with mathematically.
Yes,
we can understand you're not gonna hit anything because you're gonna be being pulled forever towards a single point.
Well, okay. I don't know. I don't know which way to do it, but the idea is that the acceleration is in time, right? So we are down here against this massy body.
Okay.
That is
Yeah, all
that
right.
is accelerated in time due to the mass, right? We're constantly experiencing an acceleration, and this is why, for example, you would see light bending around or being warped and bent around the space-time,
Yeah.
right? I'm trying to really conceptualize time in a spatial manner without putting it into the 3 dimensions of space that as we know it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to take this idea of space-time and really imagine it.
Yeah. Unpack it.
Unpack it. Exactly. So we've got this time vector, which is going off in a spatial type direction that we can't
Yeah.
possibly see because
Yeah, take the X, Y, and Z axes and then find some other 90 degrees. That's the direction it's going in.
that's the direction of time. And yet it's a spatial dimension. So things can be accelerated in it.
Yeah.
Things can be not moving in it at all. And for some reason, due to the relationship between these, when you accelerate in the lower order dimensions,
Yeah. The 3 spatial
you
ones.
slow down in that one, in the time vector.
Yeah. I follow you on that.
Yeah. So I'm trying to move this to gravity back, and
That's a very sharp curve too.
yeah,
It's the very end of it where the stopping moving in time happens. It's like you have to be really close.
okay.
You see what I mean?
yeah.
It's parabolic and
sorta
it's very sharp at the
Okay,
edge.
okay, cool,
It's like
cool,
you have this long, gradual curve of almost no effect, and then suddenly, wham! It slams up right when you're reaching the 99% or whatever.
Yes.
But it's measurable all through any kind of speed. Is the idea.
Yes.
The problem is that, like you were pointing out in the very beginning of this, that you have to be measuring your velocity versus something else, which is also moving. So
Right.
So the first question I would ask is, does that imply that there is some kind of 0 point?
Well, this okay. I'm not sure if this is where you're going, but this is one of the reasons why I think that there's this weird idea with relativity where you can be traveling at any speed and then send a beam of light out and it's still traveling at 186,000 miles per second
relative to you.
Relative to you.
Yeah.
That is only possible if, like, okay, that's the ultimate speed, right? Well,
Yeah.
how can it not be also going much faster to someone who's not moving?
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking this
You
is
have to fix that with the time
you have
problem.
this is right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So to the light, it's instantaneous.
Yeah.
To all of the electromagnetic spectrum, it's instantaneous.
Yeah.
And maybe gravity as well
Right.
is instantaneous. It appears to us because we are accelerated in the time vector that light takes time to do things because
Yeah.
that's our state.
Yes. I see that. I
now-
can follow that.
Okay. I don't know how to deal with the gravity thing. It's just I have this idea of like this acceleration that we're feeling is actually we're in this accelerated area of time, and if we can get away from the gravity well, that requires acceleration in the 3 dimensions, right? We have to accelerate to get away from that gravity well, and then we must be then moving at some speed relative to these other gravity wells, which are accelerated in time, in order to decelerate in time.
Okay.
So escape velocity, for example, is a clue.
Yeah.
This is the speed at which you must travel in the lower dimensions in order to slow down in time. Okay, so let's just word salad. Let's move on.
No. Wait.
Okay.
I got to go back to this because I want to get this visualization correct. Because you're right. So we're not picturing a point source of gravity. There's no naked singularity here. We've got a ball or a flat disk or whatever it is that we're sitting on, and it's got gravity. And since we're going with the sphere idea, the gravity is from any anywhere you are around the sphere, the gravity is a vector pointing towards the center of the sphere, basically.
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
But because there's a sphere there, I end up sitting on the edge, on the outside of the sphere.
That's right.
Experiencing its gravity at surface
At
G.
a constant acceleration.
Right, but I'm not accelerating.
In the three-dimensional realm, yeah.
Right. So,
But your time is accelerated.
That's what I'm asking. Because what you're saying is because the gravity is actually warping the nature of quote unquote space time around this sphere, that the acceleration itself is being caused by the bending or something, whatever is happening.
That's what
These vectors are being curved towards the middle of this sphere, and I'm sitting in that curve. So that is giving me some kind of acceleration in T.
Sensation of three-dimensional acceleration.
Yeah.
Even though you don't appear to be moving
going
anywhere.
Yeah.
Relative
I'm
to the body
smashed
that
up
you're
against the sphere.
This is what I'm saying. So this is why I was trying to describe it as there's some strange relationship between the time vector and the three-dimension vectors.
So let's take it to the extreme. Let's go away from the idea of the Earth now, and let's look at something like a naked singularity or neutron star or something like that. Because all the models, of course, point to this same idea that, except that this is what they say it would look like, right? If I'm not falling, but if I'm moving past the event horizon of a black hole. Like I've got some decaying orbit and I'm doing this on purpose. I want to fall into the black hole, right? And you're a million miles away and you're watching. Because the curvature of space-time is so sharp at the event horizon of the black hole, you will never see me fall into the black hole within the lifetime of the universe. Because the time dilation there is so ridiculous. But for me, I just fall in. It doesn't take it. You see what I'm saying? So once again, we have this relative issue. So I'm saying that, like, you can take that idea. So now how does that affect us sitting here on Earth? We're in a time dilation by being in a gravity well.
Right.
So if from the
redshift,
I know, Watcher's like, talk about redshift. So I don't know if I'm taking this in the same direction, but I'm taking it out to this extreme because I want to use that as an example of what is happening being in a gravity well itself. To the person falling into the black hole, time passes normally. They pass through they fall through the event horizon, and whatever happens, right? They probably don't survive, whatever. But it doesn't take millions of years for it to take place. But for the observer sitting far away from the black hole watching this take place, they'll never actually see the person past the event horizon. Because it takes the time dilation is too sharp.
They may actually see light from the mass completely converting into energy.
Yeah.
At some point, right?
Yeah.
Like, in other words...
But assume that doesn't happen. Like, assume I'm invincible. So...
Well, that's breaking it, though, right?
Well, I'm just trying to point out the dilation effect. Because you're right. Long before I hit the event horizon, I would turn into energy and light because it would tear me apart.
And the light would be instantaneous.
Yeah.
To itself.
Yeah.
Again, and so assuming you
what
actually...
I'm saying is you would never see that light unless I tore apart way farther away from the event horizon. Which would happen because I'm not invincible. But if I was invincible enough to actually skate down to the edge of the event horizon before it ripped me apart, you may never see that light take place.
I'm going to have to think about that scenario a lot longer than I can do on this thing. But that's this is why I want
to sit at the edge of the black hole and you got all the time you need.
Don't forget that. Well, we'll have to come back and listen. This is This is why I wanted to throw this at you, because I knew you would come up with a scenario that would make me then try to freaking shove my gears and levers in there to make it work. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, so keep going. I'm not trying to derail anything.
No, you're not, and this is exactly why I did this. And I want to give the watcher a chance if you can come on and say what you're wanting to say. He's said a lot. Yeah,
he's said a lot of stuff.
He's talking about redshift, a possible explanation of redshift. Now you are going on a tangent. Yeah. But let's hear it.
There we go. Do I really sound better with the N95 on? Is that
yeah, you sound so much better. It's like it's a massive improvement. You should get an N95 for every mic that you have.
It's a massive improvement.
I think it's because the volume and force of the voice of a prophet of God is harmful to the human ear, and so I have to deaden that sound. And now we're Anyway, so moving on. Redshift, huh?
Yeah, so you were
That's
saying
gotta be it.
You're saying a lot of stuff. Well,
Yeah, basically the process I went along as Kyle was talking about it is I was like, okay, so if you think of an equation like Boyle's law of partial pressures, where temperature, pressure, and volume all play off of each other. When you change one, the others change on a fixed ratio.
Yes. Yes.
What if
Great
you do
analogy.
that with gravitation, mass, and time? Or velocity, mass, and time. As your velocity is increased towards the speed of light, time goes to almost zero. Or vice versa, however that would end up working out.
Yeah, and of course it's not a perfect universe. It probably doesn't go to absolute zero, just like everything else in the universe, right? There are no perfect circles. There is no absolute zero. So yeah,
Well, then what the hell's the point of having like negative, what is it, 473 Kelvin or wherever it is?
it's a great post to look at.
I feel like that's a cruel joke. Like you're playing it on a kid trying to dunk a basketball and you're like, should we tell him that he's never actually going to be able to jump that high because it's against the laws of the universe? Nah, he's having a great time. Let him do it.
What's your point about redshift?
The reason why everything seems to be redshifted could have something to do with this interplay, this concept, where us, relative to everything else in the universe that is also moving, because of one of these changeovers, time is pushed, slowed down, or increased, whichever would cause the redshift. This is the part where Russ makes sense out of my idea.
Okay. Wait. The expansion of the universe could be due to the fact that you can't actually fully approach or land at zero time.
that is cool.
Yes.
That's cool.
I like that. So,
Mystery solved. I think I
Okay,
see
what
what
are-
you're. I think I see what you're getting at, Watcher, with the redshift. But when I start thinking about it, and of course I'm, everything I run through in my head is all standard model stuff that I've read from
That's
reading.
why we
popular-
keep you around. So let's hear it.
Oh man, I feel like I should leave. But yeah, I think redshift is caused by strong gravitational wells. That can redshift light. So it's so in other words, so what I'm trying to say is that in the same way that an object that's emitting light that is moving away from us very quickly emits a red-shifted light because of the velocity that it has relative to us, that, yeah, I guess if that light passed through a very strong gravity well, that it would blue shift at first. I guess it would equal out.
okay. Well, what if I present it like this instead? What is velocity as a vector? What is it made of? It is a distance traveled over what?
Yeah,
Over time.
Yeah.
What if the perception of time changes entirely? So your distance is now, if I had 5 meters over a second and then I have 5 meters over a femtosecond, what is my change?
Well, okay, let's go back.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So if the mass is your variable and the mass and interplay with gravity and the energy released, what if the energy is dependent upon time in the equation?
But again, okay, yes, I would agree with that. But again, your distance is relative to another object.
Yeah.
Your distance over time,
course.
you don't, right? So
That's
this
why
is,
it
this
exists.
is
That's why it slides that way.
this is a circular argument because you can only measure velocity based on other things, and you don't know how fast they're moving. The only thing that apparently is constant, unless it's in a different medium or whatever, but is the speed of light, right? So this is what you would have to measure your speed based on in some way. I don't know if there's a way to do that.
I see.
So there are.
So can we take a moving light and calculate our velocity relative to that light?
Not without instantaneous communication.
You can't, because That light
So-
should always look like it's traveling light speed to you no matter what.
Because it's not moving in time at all. This is what I'm saying.
So how can you, no matter how fast or slow or whatever you're going, that light is going to be moving the same speed according to this equation?
Yeah. Very
So
cool.
quick interjection, Russ. Why is it that calculus was so phenomenally revolutionary in terms of mathematics and the way that it unlocked the universe? I may not be answering the question in a different, like a way you've had it asked before, but what can you do in calculus you can't in algebra? You can set time equal to 0.
Okay.
That's why you can have an instantaneous velocity in calculus, because you have a concept of time being 0.
Okay. I think I see what you're getting at.
I'm lost, but continue.
If you look at a parabolic curve, right, as you move through time, your velocity is here, your position is here. Without the concept of time being 0, the way that it exists in calculus, you can only tell either your velocity or your location. Because you have 0 time in calculus, you can give a point where both are defined.
Yeah.
So your velocity, your relative distance to your 0, which is the point you set, and time are interwoven.
Yeah.
And as time is slid closer to 0 or infinite or whichever way you go, on that curve, if it's an exponential growth, the closer you get to infinite time, the closer you get to 0 growth. The closer you get to 0 time, the more infinite your growth rate becomes.
Well, okay. I think I see what you're getting at, but at the same time, you're also talking about an artifact of graphing.
This is you're illustrating one of my problems with the current state of physics right now.
Okay.
Maybe because I'm not versed in the math, right? I don't understand the advanced mathematics. But what I do understand about it is that you can take any idea and turn it into a symbol and put it in an equation.
Yeah.
And this is what is happening, right? There are a lot of theoretical ideas that are being put into equations and run to see if it matches what we see in the universe. And all of them are really close, but not all of them are really close, but the main ones are very close, but not perfect.
And the usual assumption of that is that there's like lots of little variables that are
and it's just endless and endless, and you just keep going and keep going, and you just put more and come up with new. You know, this is the state that we're in right now. This is what I want to get away from.
Okay,
and maybe I'm all wet on this, but I just like to try to put things into concepts that are you can play with.
Right.
Okay.
But Brett,
I can't do that with math.
I want to point out, Brett, before you keep going on this time equals 0, that what Kyle is actually saying is kind of the reverse of what you're pointing out, which is something you do in calculus.
Right. Well, what
The time equal with what he's saying, time doesn't start equaling 0, but the 0 of that he's talking about is the passage of it, not an arbitrary spot in the passage. You see what I mean? There's a difference there.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. What I'm illustrating is the relationship of time passage. If I move 1,000 yards in your line of sight in a half second or an hour and a half, it's a very different experience. Much like somebody observing the speed of light, light years, the way that they bend, things like that. And I'm showing that with the parabolic curve, the exponential growth that is the intro to calculus.
Yeah.
The thing that is exhibited there, but for whatever reason has never been expanded upon, is exactly what Kyle's talking about here. It's already there in the model, just nobody paid attention, or they're ignoring it intentionally because it's hard. I don't know. But it's interwoven into everything. This whole interplay with time this is the first time I've ever heard of someone talk about time being a variable that I can actually mentally grasp and play with.
What I want.
That's what Kyle's point is. Yeah, that's what he's trying to do.
Now, thank you. but I want to move on.
Yeah.
I want
Fair
to
enough.
shift gears. I want to shift gears. So, of course, this
I'm
is
supposed
not.
to do work anyway.
No, thank you. I can't. First of all, the fact that you can compare this to something in mathematics and see that it makes some kind of sense is awesome to me. So I appreciate that. However, I can't really engage you in that conversation.
He wasn't making any sense. That was
Well,
no, it was good.
so where I want to move with this is just like, you know, this is again pie in the sky stuff. Let's assume it's true. And let's shift gears to the human brain and all of the study and everything that goes into the human brain and thought processes causing the electrical pathways that are happening. Now, again, we're talking about the possibility that light to itself is actually not moving in the vector of time at all, so that it essentially to itself is instantaneous. So everything that happens in the universe in terms of the entire electromagnetic spectrum is instantaneous.
Yeah.
So we were measuring all of these things in the human brain, and we're looking at thought processes and experiences causing brain activity, which is all light and electrical things
Okay, I
and
see
stuff
where
like
you're
this.
going.
Okay. So now we move into the idea of consciousness being eternal in some sense.
Yeah.
Well, if it is a phenomenon of the electromagnetic spectrum in any way, then perhaps it is and has been this whole time
Yeah.
not moving in the vector of time at all. That brings that idea really is like you start thinking of all of these experiences that people have with spirits or ghosts and everything, and all having to do with light.
Yeah.
The light at the end of the tunnel. There's so much light stuff having to do with consciousness and near-death experiences. You know, apparitions of light, all of these things. So whatever these electrical pathways that are being created in my brain that are possibly containing my memories and all of these things are instantaneous and therefore eternal.
Relative to themselves.
Relative to themselves and to the three-dimensional world. We experience them as taking place over time because our physical bodies, our mass is all moving through that vector.
Yeah. Not at the speed of light.
Not at the speed of light.
Yeah, we're moving through the physical universe, not at the speed of light, which means that we're having to move through time.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
So
we experience it in slices or something.
So just past life experiences, all of these things that are, it's just all of this electromagnetic phenomena or just all of that stuff it just opens this door.
Yeah, I see.
Right. To what we would call spiritual experiences or
Yeah. You going full materialist
Supernatural.
reductionist on me here?
yeah. Yeah, buddy. But it's not meaningless, right?
No, of course not. No.
It's not meaningless, guys. I'm just saying that the idea of consciousness being connected to light
Yeah.
or the electromagnetic spectrum or something like that. Like we are, man, I had some thoughts on this that you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I see where you're going. Yeah, I think it's very interesting. If you start with the idea that from the perspective of light itself, the universe itself, the universe that it moves through, it doesn't have to move through anything. That basically you would have to say that from the perspective of light, it is eternal. And that would kind of it would compress. I don't know how to phrase it properly. Like it would, how would the universe appear to light?
Exactly. This is again a problem. So this
Like
is
the
this is
entire-
why it's important to think about time as a vector of space. of a type of space, right? So one of the analogies that's really bad that I was thinking about is say you have a cube and you have a piece of paper that's square that fits inside that cube perfectly, and you're moving that piece of paper across. Like, let's imagine a digital representation of this. You're doing this on a graphics program. You have a plane inside the cube moving from one side of the cube all the way across to the other over time. Now imagine that the plane, the two-dimensional plane, is actually the three-dimensional world that we live in.
Yeah.
That is what we experience and what we can observe is only those two dimensions of that plane.
Yeah.
We have no idea. We have no way to observe the entire cube.
Yeah.
And we have no way to measure our speed moving through it, right? So you look at like moving across the plane, right? If you accelerated to the ultimate speed moving across the plane, let's say it was instantaneous, right? You move across the plane almost instantaneously. You get to the other end, to the edge of the cube, without hardly moving through the other vector where the entire plane is moving across the cube at all. Right? This is kind of what light is doing.
Yeah.
That's a suggestion.
Yeah. So I'm starting to think about, so if the plane is everything we know, it's all three dimensions or whatever. Most of the stuff, the plane is made up of a bunch of stuff. Right?
Yes.
Like the paper, the piece of paper or whatever. It's got all these fibers in it. But you have to imagine, since we're trying to represent the universe with this, that all these fibers are actually in motion within the paper.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're basically kind of all moving, even though you can only measure it relative to them, because if you're in the plane, you can only measure any given fiber's motion relative to any other given fiber. But in general, they're all kind of moving at the same velocities, mostly. Mm-hmm. So the piece of paper is basically flat, but I mean, it might be curved, right? You know, I mean, like there's some stuff that's moving faster. And
it could be, yeah. It might have a bunch of pits and stuff in it.
It's gonna be
like
pitted
those,
and
like those graphs that is supposed to describe the gravity well in Einstein's theories. It's like this funnel, that comes down. Yeah, that would be in that plane, right? And that funnel is actually shifted in time, which is the direction that the entire plane is moving through the cube.
Yeah. The problem that I come up with that is that as this motion continues, those funnels will get deeper and deeper because of their continued not. Yeah,
I know it doesn't work. That's why I'm saying there's a weird relationship between these spatial dimensions that I can't possibly understand. But you think of relativity in the scenarios that they describe. Time dilation scenarios, that doesn't make any sense either.
Right.
I'm not trying to claim that it makes sense. I'm just trying to put it into a different way of thinking about
expressing it. Yeah.
A different way of imagining it that can kind of help.
Yeah.
In a way. And that's the
What
point.
about tachyons? They go faster.
Yeah, I mean they're
Those fell out of favor a long time ago, but they go faster than light. They are practically instantaneous.
This is actually something, the idea of moving faster in space slows down your motion in time. Slowing down your motion in space, in other words, the 3 dimensions, speeds up your motion in time. Is just a cool concept I've been kicking around in my head for maybe a couple of years now. But I really started thinking about it again when I was listening to Eric Weinstein talk with now I forgot his name on his podcast, The Portal. Famous physicist guy. Let me pull this up here. Anyway, it just came up again, and then I just really started working on it and messing with it, and it just was like, this is cool.
Yeah.
So could totally be BS. I don't know. But it's fun stuff to think about to me.
Yeah. And I think that mass has something to do with it.
Yes, Sir Roger Penrose.
Penrose
is who he was talking to.
I mean, this is what I'm saying. It's like the mass has something to do with it.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that. It does. And this is why I'm saying there's
having mass does not let you completely stop time, your time vector.
That's right.
So somehow that's connected.
That's right. And you start looking at the particles, the atoms and the electrons, they're moving at light speed, the orbitals.
The electrons are, yeah.
Yeah. So there's this weird combination of timeless versus time moving things stacked on each other. And then, of course, there's harmonics involved in those relationships.
Yeah.
There's interesting forces that are playing upon each other between these two vectors, unlike in space. So as you imagine, you're moving along the x axis at a certain speed, and then you want to start to accelerate in the y, right? You create this curve, right?
Yeah.
And eventually, if you, just depending on how you're, whatever, I'm thinking of thrusters and stuff with the spaceship or whatever.
Yeah.
In order to stop moving along X and move along Y, you have to do a lot of interesting stuff. Yeah. But these relationships are pretty simple. Those directional relationships. But with the time vector, there are other things involved that are strange. They're not completely applicable to the three spatial dimensions. But it made me think about inertia. There's something about inertia that has to do with this relationship, right?
Yeah.
This is why, it might be hard to slow things down or get them going. Because if you imagine a stationary object that is now traveling at the ultimate speed of time, right? Whatever that may be. Yeah. It's the same as light speed traveling at the ultimate speed in the physical, or in the first three dimensions. So there's some weird threshold there between the two.
I wonder if it's the layering that makes it a problem. Because you just pointed out that
they're all layered upon each other. Yes.
Yeah. There's like an atom. So it's got a central area of massy particles. They're tiny, but they have mass. But it's surrounded by this cloud of massless thing that's like moving at light speed. So it itself, if we're going with this model,
you try to accelerate that thing in the three-dimensional
realm.
realm.
And since they're all layered, since you've got like layers and layers and layers of like, here's mass, here's the non-massy frozen in time thing, and it's back and forth and back and forth. It's basically like stacked pancake. I was thinking of it, starting to think of it as, layering.
Yeah.
So now you have this complex system where mixed all into the thing that you are, whatever, like let's say I've got a sphere of metal and I'm trying to accelerate it to the speed of light. Well, I can't because it's got a whole bunch of parts of it that are already doing it mixed in with things that aren't.
Yes, and you just made me think of quantum entanglement. So if you take that one object with all of its stuff doing weird things and you imagine this that the massless particles are actually zero motion in the time vector.
Yeah.
This is how they can be entangled with things on the other side of the freaking universe.
Yeah.
Because that shell is everywhere that it's ever going to be already in the universe. Right?
It can be.
It doesn't appear to it
to us because we're stuck moving in the time vector. Yeah. Yeah. Well, so to finish up here, I had one question that I was going to pose.
Okay.
And I thought this was going to, I thought this would happen. I was like, I bet you the stuff that Kyle's going to flip out about is going to be the same, is going to somehow apply to this question I want to ask. It's like, I'm showing up, I'm like, this is a question that's you can't answer this. And it's like, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't even ask it. It's already been answered. It's not even really a question. It's just an observation. And this has been made by plenty of people, but I was just starting to think about, so going back to the radio waves, the electromagnetic spectrum. I have the radio tower and I can beam out radio waves and those things, or they create a field. There's a magnetic field,
oscillate the field,
you can
create
oscillate
a vibration.
the field. Yeah. And these waves will move out and do things, and then they can be, there's a place where they aren't, and then they will eventually show up, right? And so we're going back to this idea. We're stuck here in the time vector. But and those things are they're fundamental to the universe. Like the electromagnetic spectrum is a thing that is just everywhere.
Yes.
Even though I can beam parts of it into places where it hasn't been in that particular way before.
Right. Yeah.
But everywhere you go, there's phi and pi. Mm-hmm. And you show up and they're there, right? And I can't build something that beams the phi out into the universe where it will then show up later. So what are the differences? What is the difference between these two things? That, like we say, well, a phi, this Fibonacci thing, it's fundamental. Yeah, it's like it is expressed in the universe all over the place. But why? Like, what is it exactly that is making that be expressed? So that I guess what I'm trying to say is I can imagine taking a laser, I got a laser pointer and I can beam it out into space. And I'm like, there's never been a laser in that spot before, ever. And I'm doing it right now. But I can't do that with phi.
Because it's been everywhere.
It's already everywhere, and there's no way for me to like beam it somewhere. I can't like manifest it.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
So, like the electromagnetic spectrum, phi or pi or whatever these fundamental numbers, they are everywhere, and they seem to be a kind of resonance. But unlike all the other resonances we know, I can't make something that will beam phi out into the universe in a place it's never been before. So I think we call these things fundamental, but I think that there is actually a fundamental difference between these things.
That's a really good one. I have no idea.
I have no idea.
I'll have to think about that one too. Not that I will come up with an answer.
I want to build a phi laser.
No, but it's what is it about it that makes it that its nature is such that it already is everywhere from the beginning?
Yeah.
That's
one of the questions. And then the other one is, why does it act like these resonances that can be generated?
Well, the resonances may be emergent from that principle.
Yeah. They are emergent in some way. Or, now we're going back to all this bullshit you just said, that light is everywhere and it is causing phi.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
The nature of that spectrum being all over the place and not moving in time.
Yeah, because it's not moving in time and it was already basically...
It's already everywhere and phi shows up everywhere
because space is happening to move through it.
So in other words, are these quote-unquote fundamental numbers of the universe actually emerging from something more like what you're talking about? Anyway, the question of emergence, which one's more fundamental, and how come I can't beam phi out into the universe is just an interesting one.
Yeah, that is. It is. Okay, watch her go. What? I don't have the answers to your questions, sir.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry for you stick to the pyramids crowd. I can hear you freaking out there. But this is one of the like our good buddy who sent us the email. This is, why were they putting phi and such things in these ancient structures? So it is relevant.
Yeah,
to pyramids.
This was definitely an episode where we had to do a lot of we did a lot of correspondence and responded to a lot of that stuff, and then we had a few thoughts. There was very few pyramids, but it's all relevant to the larger discussion.
Yeah. All right, Watcher, what's the deal? Lay it on.
Sorry, I almost started talking without my profit filter on.
How dare you?
So I actually had a thought. And first off, the question that you guys refused to read out loud was actually in relation to an answer to how do you become a time traveler.
Okay.
And it's that you have to add on tons of mass. Do you even gravity well, bro?
Yes. We are time travelers, people.
That's right.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But phi and pi could be nothing more than the representation of the ever-present ratio between time and whichever force it is that you're checking it against.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
That's cool.
That relationship between that,
which is something Russ has touched on before, where it's like something in the spirit world. It's not here, but it is around it that we exist.
Yes.
So it could be that ratio, and it's never a real number because as time increases, the other one decreases, or as speed increases, time decreases, but they are always relative to each other at a set value.
Yeah. And this causes fractals, which, we talk about a lot, are expressed in geology as scale invariance. A fractal is, you're just like, how can the universe be this way? How is it that something can have the same complexity no matter what scale you look at it at?
Yeah, like the orbital
How is
of
this
an
possible?
electron and the orbitals of the planets in our solar system, and you're like, hold on just a damn minute.
Yeah, or just, the erosion pattern of a tiny stream versus an enormous cataract,
Okay, so
Yeah.
there you go. Time and mass are again the big players.
Yeah.
So it takes more time to accelerate all of that mass of a massive meltdown of the ice caps to run across the Colorado Plateau and just rip it all out of there. There's a lot more energy involved.
Yeah.
But you can do it on a small scale and it goes really quickly and you don't have to move a lot of mass and it makes the same product.
Yeah.
Right.
The pattern is the same. Yeah.
So in a sense, it's the relationship between time and space that has that, like, in other
Fractal
words,
quality, yeah.
yes, the laws or rules or however you would describe them that govern the relationship between these dimensions. So you have the first three dimensions, and they have very interesting relationships to each other, right? But then you get to the next order above the three, the time dimension, and there's a totally different set of rules for how those work between each other.
Yeah, and you have to involve mass and velocity. And stuff.
All of these things that have to do with, and again, we're talking about layers upon layers upon layers of these dimensions on top of each other, because the particles, as we look at them, that make up the universe, are built that way.
Yeah.
I have a quick and very concise idea. Rarity, it must be the mass.
My goodness.
I'll believe it when I hear
So
it.
then, if we refer to this force that's called gravitation, I prefer to think of it as a push.
Yeah.
The speed that must be traveled by whatever it is rotating around to keep it from being pushed inward would be relative by a value of pi, wouldn't it?
No.
Whatever that rotation is. to keep
Kyle was
from
all in
colliding.
until you said that last part.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know that connection, but I thought of this same thing, like the speed at which you must travel around your time vector accelerator, which is your gravity well,
Right.
is relative to, in order to not fall towards it, right? You fall around
Orbital speed.
orbital speeds.
Your average overall motion along that arc is equal to some form of pi. Like
Okay.
that
I
is
was
the
thinking-
ratio between those two forces.
I was thinking that you have basically found the balance between the time dilation and the speed at which you must travel in the physical to negate
Yes.
that.
Because the further or closer you are to the massier object, the faster or slower
That's
you move.
exactly right.
Yeah. So, in other words, the only velocity you can maintain that keeps you from falling into the object and experiencing the time dilation of being stuck on a gravity well
Is one that's fast enough
fast enough to give you the same time dilation.
to give you, to counteract the acceleration of time.
Based upon your radial distance from the massier object,
And
your
here you have
time
pi.
to travel
That's what
around
he's
the
trying
arc,
to say.
Yeah.
that is the ratio.
So you have pi. Again, another fundamental.
Yeah.
Wow. I have to go back
All
to
right,
work.
boys.
I'm really unhappy about it. But
I think we figured it out. Of course, we don't know what we're talking about.
Right. All you mathematicians out there, tell us we're wrong.
Yeah, please send us hate mail. But it's fun to think about, and I appreciate everyone,
Yeah.
humoring me on that.
Yep. I had something to say about. Well, maybe that was it.
Hey, it's 3. Well, no, that clock
3:33.
is wrong. 3:33. It's actually 2 hours and 33 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, you guys can get a hold of us, brothersoftheserpent@gmail.com. Go to the website, brothersoftheserpent.com. We got the encyclopedia there, the glossary, the SnakeSkins. Support us through the pyramid scheme on Patreon or by donation through PayPal, which you can also do. You can set up monthly donations on PayPal if you want. If you don't like Patreon. Give us reviews wherever you can. I have reviews I need to read. We'll probably do that in some future show. So thanks to everybody who has given us reviews. If you haven't, what's wrong with you? Go give us reviews. On the iTunes store, that really helps us out and spreads the show. Share the shows however you can. Follow us on Twitter @SnakeBros with no vowels. That's SNKBRS. Join the Facebook group. Join the Discord, which there is a link to on the website. Check out the Library of the Serpent, which is run by Jeff. History Shifts makes all of our YouTube videos, so thanks very much to him. Check out Bod Doodles. He takes some of our podcasts and turns them into doodles that you can watch him doing. Don't forget about Cosmographia, which is the podcast we do with Randall Carlson. We have a Reddit subreddit, Brothers of the Serpent, r/Brothers of the Serpent. Check us out on Reddit. And thanks to Where Did the Road Go, Uncharted X, Mike and Maurice's Mind Escape, Grimerica, Conspiranormal, Skeptico, and the other ones, 7 Ages Audio Group.
We love you
Audio
guys.
Journal. Yeah, we love you guys. Always have.
Always will. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Good night, Adamu.
Get back to work.